Bo, what do you know? What awards they give out at the ESPYs? What are they giving away at that thing? It's like the NFL honors, it's MVP and that sort of thing. What are they? Do you know the awards that they bestow at the ESPYs?
Not really. We were talking about it most of the morning, just mostly the Shane Gillis jokes. I don't know a single award that was given out last. I don't know. I don't know any award. I don't know any award that was won last night.
Do they do sportsman of the? And who awards these awards? Because at the Oscars, like, I'd like to thank the Academy.
Yeah,
I'd like to thank the, like, who's?
I have no idea.
I don't know the awards.
I have no clue. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know who's giving it, and that's fine.
I didn't watch any of it. I've seen the Gillis stuff on Twitter, and that's all I got.
Hold on. Talk for one more sec. I gotta grab my laptop.
Yeah, of course. So, anyways, yeah, this Gillis thing, a lot of it, we talked about it this morning.
I want to play some of the jokes.
Some
That's
of the jokes,
my laptop.
It's a tough room in that environment for some of the, like, the crowd didn't exactly fully get into it, I don't think, ever. It's a tough room for that environment because every time, all those people, I said this morning, all these people are under a microscope. Anytime the camera's on them, they have to be on their quote unquote best behavior.
This is true.
For their brand, their reputation, yada, yada.
For everything.
So any like somewhat walking the line joke that Gillis could have made or anybody could make in a room like that, you're not going to get a whole lot of laughter sometimes because these people are trying to fix their brand or represent their representation.
Represent themselves.
Yeah.
They are an industry.
So any joke made that they could be laughing at, the internet will find a way to twist it and say, you're this, you're that.
That is what the internet does.
Yep.
I also think, and I'm not someone who goes to a bunch of comedy clubs. I'm not an expert in stand-up comedy here.
Me neither.
But when I do go to comedy shows, you'll notice that a lot of the comedy clubs have drink minimums. Maybe you've experienced this, Austin, where like if you go to Comedy on State, I think there's a 2-drink minimum, which I'm getting drinks anyways because I'm there to enjoy myself and it's, I'm going to have the drinks. I always have been curious and, maybe others know more about this or like, what happens if I'm a sober person and I want to go to the comedy club or what if, I don't understand how those drink minimums, like you have to drink, they compel you to drink. I've always been a little confused. Whatever. Again, I'm getting my gin and tonics anyways. Typically when the headliner comes on stage, there have been, 1 or 2 acts already. They've warmed up the room and people are there to laugh. The people at the ESPYs are there to peacock. They're there to shake their ass on the red carpet. Look at my stylish suit. We talked about that with Mizorowski yesterday. Look at my beautiful wife and my kid, my family, right? Not exactly the place people go to enjoy stand-up comedy. But that is typically, I think, the day after the ESPYs, we want to see how the host did. And I think people are especially curious last night and today because Shane Gillis is a little bit of a departure from, how do I put this? What you'd expect on ESPN, which is owned by Disney. You know what I mean? You typically don't expect. And look, how familiar with you or how familiar were you with Shane Gillis before last night?
Pretty familiar.
Do you watch Tires, his show?
Have
you ever
not
seen
watched his show. I need to. It's on the list.
I've never seen it as well. I'm sure
it's
good.
Who Shane Gillis is. I know his bit.
Yeah.
I know what he does.
It's kind of the self-aware, tell a joke, and then maybe it doesn't kill, and you're like, all right, fine. Very and Jim Gaffigan's done that too. There's been other comics who are like, all right, that joke didn't play so well. Like, all right, I wasn't sure about that one. Like, it's kind of funny.
Or last night he was like, I didn't write it.
Yeah.
I didn't write it.
They let me do it, man. I knew that one wasn't going to kill.
They let me do it.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. He had a little homage to Norm Macdonald at the end, and I was talking to you and Ebo. You weren't familiar with Norm Macdonald's joke at the ESPYs, so maybe in our next segment we can get into that a little bit. I'm trying to decide what my favorite joke was. The Caitlin Clark Waffle House one. Here, I have a couple of these. This is why I wanted to grab my laptop, is because I was cutting this audio when you and Ebo were finishing up Over the Line. This, I think, is my honorable mention for my favorite joke of the night. I think this is pretty darn good.
When Caitlin Clark retires from the WNBA, she's going to work at a Waffle House so she can continue doing what she loves most, fist fighting black women.
And to be fair, she is not often in these fights been the aggressor. She talks smack, but it seems like she just got a little bit of a target on her back. Topical. Very funny, a little punchy, but nothing crazy offensive. I actually kind of think this was my favorite joke from last night. I did not see this clipped all over social media, but this format of a joke, like this is a very simple, stupid joke kind of dumping on someone who's I think in the past been a little bit of a tool.
Megan Rapinoe could not make it tonight. Nice.
Like, I just think that's funny. And the follow-up.
No, we're going to pretend she's a good time. All right.
Like,
No, we're gonna pretend.
I just think that's like the punchline is this.
Nice.
Nice. Like, it's just kind of clunky and silly. And I enjoyed the monologue last night. I did not watch the rest of the awards show. And I don't know how many people did. Again, I don't even know what awards they give out at this thing. But you pan the crowd, Austin, and it's a who's who of the sporting world, right? And I almost, like, I try to put myself in the shoes of Shane Gillis. We know that he's a huge college football fan, a huge sports fan. So he's probably on stage with all of these people he's looked up to his entire life. He's like, oh my God, there's Freddie Freeman, there's Lamar Jackson. I think probably even for him, he's gotten very famous, but he seems like someone who still presents and views himself as a very average, regular guy, very self-deprecating, which I appreciate. It'd be pretty wild. Like, imagine, in a span of 2 years kind of blowing up, and then all of a sudden you're telling jokes to that room, and the crowd is tough, to put it mildly. I was a fan of this. I thought this was a very excellent opening joke. Again, topical with the NBA Finals wrapping up a couple of weeks ago.
SGA is here. Give it up for SGA. Hell yeah, bro. And now everybody sitting around him is in foul trouble.
That's about the biggest laugh that he got. This is not a chesty crowd that was really letting it rip. Zach and Wisco tweets in, and you can tweet in, at Wisco Grant. You are the Os. What is your Twitter handle, Austin?
At the Os Harper.
That's correct. Zach and Wisco.
I would hope I would know mine.
The Maytag man.
That's correct.
I'm glad that you just had to double check. He tweets, most comedy clubs have a 2-item minimum. Whether it's food or a mocktail or a soda, no free refills. It's been a while since they require drinks for the reasons that you mentioned. Okay, that makes more sense. So you don't have to get liquor, but you got to get something. You can't just come in and get laughs and then get out. You need to support the bar or the restaurant. And that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure, like, oh, I'm a recovering alcoholic. No, you must drink. Like, obviously, they're not going to be able to do that. I've just always been kind of curious about how that works. So I appreciate the tweet. And you can call and join the show today, 608-321-1670. You can tweet me at Wisco Grant, the Os Harper. Austin Harper is here for the beginning of the show. Were you in early on Over the Line this morning again?
I came in at 7.
That's
a little before.
That's early. I know it's not 6, but 7 is early. So you've already
You're
already done 3 hours. I appreciate you at least doing the start of the show.
Probably out of here at around 11-ish.
Yeah,
I'll stick around for the hour.
That's a good call.
And then I am off to the boondocks of Country Thunder this afternoon.
Where is Country Thunder?
Twin Lakes.
Okay.
It's about an hour and a half south
of here. Who are headlining? Because Country Jam up in Eau Claire, that's my neck of the woods, is also this weekend. I pondered maybe going. It's not that the lineup is bad. It's just nobody that I'm jumping out of my shoes to see. I think like Saturday night, I think Sam Hunt is the headliner, which would be great. It'd be good, but I'm not going to go probably just because that. Who are the headliners this weekend for you?
Cole Swindell is tonight.
Excellent.
Then tomorrow is Hardy. Hardy's the one I'm probably most excited for. Saturday's Jelly Roll.
Man, he's just everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is.
How is he everywhere? He's omnipresent.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that one. He has 90% of his songs are like slower paced.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that'll go at the headline of the Saturday night festival.
I bet he'll put on a good show. You know what I mean? He'll probably do some covers, I would guess.
Yeah. So hopefully that. And then Sunday, I will be missing the Sunday one, but that is Dierks Bentley.
Oh, that might be my favorite of the bunch.
Probably the best one.
Here's the thing. My country music tastes or preferences are like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like right now, this morning I was listening to Rascal Flatts, which their debut album was like 99. So that's more than 10 years old. But they've been relevant more recently. I saw Billy Currington at Summerfest. I was over the moon at that show. Like I'm 10 years behind all the time. So maybe in a decade from now, I'll be caught up on, I guess, who's big right now. Morgan Wallen, I know a little bit.
Yeah.
Zach Bryan, very big these days. Hardy's pretty cool. That should be a fun show. And you're going to Wrigley on Sunday. I did attempt to rally some people to maybe go to that game. I asked one of my best friends who likes going to games at Wrigley. I said, hey, Sunday, Garrett Crochet versus the Cubs. Place is going to be awesome. It's summertime in Chicago. Let's go. And you know what he replied? He's like, what, are you a big Garrett Crochet fan or something? It's like, well, screw you.
Well,
you don't want to go see a baseball game?
Yeah.
I did not a little unreal. Yeah. And I tried to wrangle Colton Bartholomew, who covers the Badgers, has some great reporting on the Nyzier Fourqurean situation, which we're going to get into today. That's a big part of the show.
Learned about that this morning.
Very, very interesting.
Big.
There are a lot of ramifications there for the Badgers, but Colton, and I believe he's been on my show to talk about this. I don't know about Bill's show. I don't know about the 10 to 2 show, but he's a big Red Sox fan. And I'm like, Colton, let's go on Sunday. Let's go. Come on. I'm looking for a buddy. And he's got to go to Vegas for Big Ten media days. So it was a little too much for him. So you will enjoy Wrigley on Sunday. I hope I'm very jealous.
The Cubs might not score a run on Crochet, but
they might not.
We'll see.
But if the wind's blowing out.
So I have determined
the
thing that I low-key want to see the most at this game is an Aroldis Chapman appearance.
Oh?
That guy is a legend. He was still an all-star this year. I mean, obviously he won the Cubs World Series. So
will he get a standing ovation? Will that?
I think he might have. I think he might. But I've never seen him pitch live, so that's pretty much the sole reason. I think that would be sick.
Do you know the probable for Chicago on Sunday?
No, they have not announced it yet.
You should be so lucky to see Colin Ray.
No, Colin Ray's on Friday tomorrow, actually.
Damn it!
Right out of the break.
Well, you got to start hot. That's why.
Imanaga's on Saturday, Sunday to be determined. So it'll probably. I don't even know.
So are you going to get like a bottom of the rotation guy?
Yeah, but I think they're saving Boyd for the next series. They're like just giving him an extended break for the All-Star break, not pitching at all.
Sure.
So it'll probably be Cade Horton or bullpen day.
I haven't actually looked at the Brewers probables versus the Dodgers this weekend.
I looked earlier. At least on the MLB app, they got nothing. Neither team has anything for all 3 games this weekend.
I mean, can we assume it's Freddie out of the break?
It all says TBD.
But we could assume it's Freddie, right?
You would think.
One with, I don't know why it wouldn't be. So what? Freddie, Miz, and then who's been third? Quintana, I guess? Or am I forgetting somebody? We don't need to kick around probables for this weekend, but I would like to see Garrett Crochet versus the Cubs. And if the wind is blowing out, right, you could have this perfect mix of, it's a well-pitched game, but the offense kind of becomes inevitable anyways.
Could be fun.
So it could be a pitching duel type of game, but the score could be 6-5 instead of 1-0 or 2-1, which I think would be a good viewing experience. I've never seen a baseball game at Wrigley. I would like to go. And I'd go for a Brewers-Cubs game, but it's like I've never been to US Bank either, for example. And I have a friend who's a diehard Vikings fan who lives up there, and I was like, I want to go experience a game, but I don't think I want to do a Packers-Vikings game. I just want to go do a game.
Yeah.
I would be willing to do a Brewers-Cubs game at Wrigley. I have been told this by multiple people, and maybe you can speak to this, Austin. I think as a Brewers fan, I would have more fun doing a Brewers-Cubs game at Wrigley than a Brewers-Cubs game at AmFam. I have been told that the Cubs fans who are at Wrigley typically a little bit more polite and less cantankerous than the ones who come up to American Family Field. Not all, but it seems like some of the folks who come up to American Family Field are like, we're here to take this place over.
Like, call it Wrigley North, yada, yada. Take it over, obsess over anything that happens, or like, I mean, that's a fair take. The Wrigley atmosphere is unmatched. I will vote for that every day.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
It's not to recycle a take I've said 1,000 times. Brewers fans, I was like, oh, Wrigley's a dump. And then, like a lot of, Cubs fans be like, oh, AmFam, that roof, it's a sweaty toilet in there. It's like, all right, everyone calm down. I'll play the middleman to this. Wrigley's cool. It's very old. It's its own thing. A very cool building in a very cool place if you've never been. American Family Field, completely different. Tailgating, right outside in the lots. You're protected from the rain. If it right, 2 completely different concepts of stadiums, 2 different appearances. Here, am I the loser for simply asking, why can't we enjoy both, Austin? That's what's cool about baseball is all the stadiums are different. It's a completely different experience among all these different places. And I just feel like both of these fan bases have so much angst towards the other ballpark. I'm like, I think I enjoy games at both. And there's obviously bad fans on both sides that are going to ruin experiences for the other. But I do feel like for the most part, a lot of Cubs fans that come north are like, we're here to take over the lots and piss here and, screw your guys' elevators. It's like, hey man, like, cool to have you visiting. Actually, I think it's fun. No need to be an a-hole about it. And I think if you go to a road game, you need to kind of know your place. You need to be a little bit more docile. Like, I'm not going to go to Wrigley and be like, how many of the last years we won the division? Like, no, I'm behind enemy lines. I'm there to enjoy a game. I'm going to be very docile. I'm not gonna fight. I'm not going to be that guy.
This will be the second time I'm taking a group to Wrigley for the first time.
That's so
this season.
That's cool.
So when the Brewers were there, took some Brewers friends there, and now I'm going with.
What did they have to say about it? Did they like it?
They liked it. Yeah, we went to Murphy's before. Murphy's is the bar outside the bleachers. Blast. It's a blast.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then Sunday, sorry. Family, my mom's side, my mom, brother, and stepdad. It'll be all their first time at Wrigley. My brother has gotten into baseball the last year and a half, 2 years, and became a Red Sox fan. So
it's cool.
That'll be fun.
It's cool to take people a place for the first time and get to experience it. Like a couple times over the last year, I have a friend who lives in the Twin Cities, big sports fan, had never been to Fiserv and had never been to American Family Field. And it's just cool. It's like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like it's cool to do that with people. So I am jealous of the experience you have.
I've been there probably 30 times, so it'll be fun to take people there.
That's cool. So let's take a break. We kind of covered a lot of stuff in the opening segment. It's going to be more of a loose show today. I have a little bit more Shane Gillis audio, including I assume Ebo did he play the original Norm Macdonald joke for you today?
I did not hear that, I don't think.
Okay, well, we'll do, because a little bit of a tribute.
Throw it.
I'm a big fan of Norm Macdonald. I actually think he's very similar to Shane Gillis and that his stand-up can be a little hit or miss, but all the other things between the hosting and the shows and his podcast, I think very, very funny. So we do I want a little bit of a throwback with a cool tribute, Shane Gillis to Norm Macdonald last night. We'll get into that. Austin, I want to talk a little baseball because I think that's what we do best for the first hour. And then as the show goes on, we'll get into some Packers stuff. And the Nyzier Fourqurean situation, I think, came mostly to a conclusion yesterday. They did not rule in the Badgers' favor, but I think I'm on the side of the NCAA in this. So he's just supposed to have 5 years of eligibility, unless I'm missing something. And we'll get into that. Jesse Temple from Badger Connect will be here as well to go over that as the show goes on. Your calls, welcome. Actually, encouraged on the other side of this break at 608-321-1670. We'll be right back.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The open road is calling, and the ride begins at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. This July, you could burn rubber on a custom Harley-Davidson in the Fire Up Your Fantasy motorcycle giveaway. Play with your rewards card all July for entries. Thursday drawings for extra cash and reward play. Fire Up Your Fantasy, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Becoming a truck driver doesn't have to be complicated. At Schneider, we make it easy to get your commercial driver's license and start your new career. With our CDL apprenticeship training, you'll get paid to become a truck driver in just 5 to 6 weeks and have a Schneider driving job waiting for you when you've completed the program. Plus, during training, Schneider will provide transportation, lodging, and meals at no cost to you. Ready to get your career on the road? Learn more and apply today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Four-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody. I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players. That's crazy. You clap for that.
Austin, I think that joke is good, clean fun.
Yeah.
I don't think that's taken an unnecessary shot at the WNBA. The fact that they put it this way, the fact that there is a WNBA joke at all, that's not completely and totally dumping on the NBA. It just shows that the league is front of mind, especially in the slow part of the sports calendar. I see a lot of discourse surrounding Caitlin Clark and what's going on with the Fever. Side note before we continue with the Shane Gillis audio. So are you familiar with the roster of the Indiana Fever, Austin? Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham.
Yep.
Conventionally very attractive Lexi Hull, much of the same. Can I ask, may I be so bold as to posit a question to you, Austin?
Go for it.
Do you think that the front office of the Indiana Fever was like, well, if we can't get the best players in the world, what if we just settle for the ones that everyone thinks are really attractive? Like, it's got to be good marketing on some level, right?
It's not.
You're telling me that never came up. I don't believe that.
I'm telling you
That's
it's not out of the question.
Okay, maybe that's the best way to put it.
I'm telling you there's a non-zero chance that is how that may or may not have played out.
Hey, man, like, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. And Sophie Cunningham has been a good pro, and I'm not an expert on the league, but it's not like she's not the Thanasis of the WNBA. Let's put it that way. Like, she's been a pro. She's an excellent high school, college player. So I am not downplaying the skill or the value of those players. I have to wonder. And if you're like, wow, Grant's being, he's being a chauvinist. He's being an a-hole. Okay, well, I guess maybe. I'm just saying it had to come up. It had to come up in the meetings in the front office when they were talking about offseason acquisition. And especially when you already have all these eyeballs because of Caitlin Clark, I'm just saying it had to come up. And if it didn't come up, then the people in charge weren't. It's due diligence, Austin. It has to be. You're like, yeah. I would like to opt out of this portion of the conversation, which is fine. So one of my favorite jokes last night, because I'm a big Norm Macdonald fan, not always of his stand-up, but just kind of his whole thing. One of my favorite jokes last night was SGA, or not SGA, but Shane Gillis, tributing a Norm Macdonald joke that was made a long time ago. Here, I'll play this for you. This is the last joke that he told last night, and he openly came out and said, I would like to do a joke as a tribute to the late, great Norm Macdonald.
Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy this year. He's the first defensive player since Charles Woodson to win the Heisman. Congratulations, Travis Hunter, winning the Heisman. That's something they can never take away from you, unless you kill your wife and a waiter.
Just
in which case they can take that away from you.
In which case, so this is a throwback to this joke, Austin, which I think was like 99, maybe. I can't remember when Charles Woodson won the Heisman or when this was. I think it was the late 90s, but this is Norm Macdonald.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? I want a season here.
First of all, why is this crowd like there's actual life there?
Yeah, there is.
Like, how many times last night did Shane Gillis say, like,
social media wasn't a thing back then?
That's true.
I'm gonna tell you the answer.
Good point. That's actually a great take. How many times last night would Shane Gillis be like, and Karl Anthony Towns is here? And then nothing, and you'd hear like 3 claps, and he'd go like, yeah, hell yeah. Like, that's what I would do. I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, absolutely. Like, please clap. That's how this works. So I'm struck by the level of audience participation in the late 90s.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that?
I love it. There's Charles Woodson. And this isn't going somewhere positive. I just love the inflection.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? I want a season here.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Great, Manny. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case...
And actual laughs. all bets are off. Of course, discussing O.J. Simpson, which if you're not familiar with the work of Norm Macdonald, Austin, that was a large part of his bit at SNL, just finding endless ways to dump on O.J. Simpson, who, I mean, we don't need to get into. Did O.J. die, by the way? Am I misremembering?
I don't know.
O.J. Simpson?
Yeah,
I feel like he died.
I think so.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
2024. Okay, he
Yeah.
died last year. That is what I thought.
Yeah.
Sometimes you start to lose track of these things. So I guess rest in peace or in piss, depending on your, something that kind of divided the country at the time. Have you ever consumed any OJ content?
I have.
What have you? So
I got the gist of the. Got the gist.
Have you ever watched OJ Simpson versus the People with David Schwimmer playing Robert Kardashian and what's her name playing Marcia, the prosecutor, the girl Sarah Paulson, the girl who does all the horror movies, who's really good, very good. And Austin, speaking of no social media, I think of all the time because I was born in '98. What year were you born?
04.
I cannot fathom that trial had the eye of the country, the eyes and ears of the entire country, and there was no social media. Yeah. My mom talks about the TV being on at work and people gathered around to see some of this stuff. Like, I don't know what the equivalent of this would be now. I guess they just had that thing on the East Coast. What was her nuts? Who like backed over her husband with a car? Like, every once in a while you have a trial that I just can't imagine something taking over the country like that. But now with social media, it's like we have one of those things a week. So I think
there's just so many.
There's too many things.
There's too many things that take over like that.
Yeah.
That as soon as it's done, it goes behind the woodwork, and there's another one taking its place.
So it's
I would say, I guess just from my opinion, like my time on social media in the last my lifetime, I would say the Johnny Depp trial or Amber Heard one.
Oh yeah,
that was probably the biggest trial.
That's a pretty good one.
Was covered nationally from what I've seen.
I mean, we just had the Diddy trial, and there were some things to come out of that, but I think the Diddy trial would be a much bigger deal in a world in which we didn't like have a Diddy trial every week. And I don't just mean trials, but like every week on social media, there's a thing. And I think we're just so used to there always being a thing that when we have a real thing, it just feels like another thing. And I know that's the most bare bones way to explain that idea, but I feel like I got my point across there. Like O.J. Simpson was a thing that had life and it had twists and turns. We don't have the attention span for a trial like that, for a situation like that. Darnell the Chum says on the live stream, Kyle Rittenhouse.
That one too. That was pretty big.
That was pretty big.
But that was also just like, I don't even know what.
I don't know what that was.
That was just like that was an interesting.
Have you seen him recently, by the way?
I have not.
He's Google Kyle right now. He's put on some weight. It's not a criticism of Thornburg one way or another. This is not political commentary. I'm just talking about his appearance. Wisco Grebes, who's out in Massachusetts. Karen Reed, yes, out in Massachusetts, around Boston somewhere. I know people have been following that, but again, it's like we have one of those once a week now. Like, we can't have an OJ trial nowadays because we'd be over it in 3 or 4 days. We'd move on. It wouldn't be a thing like it was back then. You did mention the Karl Anthony Towns joke here. A couple more Shane Gillis moments for those who missed it last night.
The New York Knicks had a great season. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Give him some help.
Karl Anthony Towns is here. Hey, girl.
But part of the reason I liked his set is because he was like, God, this is so, what I'm doing is so just shameful. Like, you could tell he's like, screw this, man. Like, it was kind of funny. Here's about a minute of him going from Shohei Ohtani.
This is my favorite one.
To Bill Belichick. This is your favorite moment from last night? All right, let's listen.
Pitcher, hitter, and bookie. A bookie is what Bill Belichick reads to his girlfriend before bedtime.
I always find it endearing when the comedian laughs at their own joke. You can't do it all the time, but for certain comedians it works, and I do enjoy when I hear that.
They do. They read The Very Horny Caterpillar, The Little Engine That Could But Needed a Pill First, and of course the classic Good Night Boobs. That was my favorite one.
Good Night Boobs. Like, I want to be in the writer's room when that happens.
Yeah.
It's like, what about Good Night Boobs? And everyone's like, sure, yeah, it'll work. It'll wait. Let's just move on to the next one.
I'm not trashing Bill Belichick. First off, He's 73 years old and he's dating a hot 24-year-old, and people are criticizing him. What happened to this country? It used to be a great country. He won 6 Super Bowls. Yeah. He's dating a hot 24-year-old.
That's where people are supposed
Maybe
to
if you
applaud.
guys won 6 Super Bowls, you wouldn't be sitting next to a fat, ugly dog wife.
So,
hold up. Let this play out.
They let me do it. I don't.
They let me do it.
This is Disney.
It's Disney. They allow it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a story. I was at.
So, does dog wife? Does that just mean like? What does that mean? Does that mean like it's you're a dog mom? Like, is a dog a commentary on the appearance? I mean, it's funny because it sounds funny. I guess I don't need to understand the meaning. It's like, Jesus. Okay. I liked this joke was also, this can be the last one. This is one of my favorites because, hey, Austin, I don't know how much SNL or late night or other things you watch. Everyone's got a Trump impression.
Yep.
I don't find any of them to be particularly funny. I do like Shane Gillis's Trump.
That's a good one.
Because I think he taps into the best, funniest version of Trump, which is when Trump is just riffing. It's like, it's clear that Trump is a master of this. When he doesn't know what to say, or nobody can pull phrases out of their rear end like Trump can. And he always does it in a certain voice. And that's kind of what he bases his Trump around. And I think it's the funniest by far.
Also, can we stop pretending Donald Trump knows ball? It's like a weird thing where they're like, man, he loves sports. He doesn't know anything about sports. Every time a team comes and visits the White House, he's like, and you must be the guy who catches. It's like, look at these guys, big guys.
Big guys.
And that's just when the New York Liberty visited.
Hey.
They didn't visit. That's just a
joke. The Liberty, I thought the Liberty won a title. They had a super team. Like Brianna Stewart was there. I thought Sabrina Ionescu was there. I can't. I'm sorry, I don't remember who won the last 3 or 4 WNBA titles. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I remember them having a very good team. It seems like they may have won a title and then refused to visit the White House, which I think is what he was getting at. I just love this voice. It'll never not make me laugh.
Look at these guys, big guys.
Big guys. I don't need.
Yeah, the Liberty were the winners last year.
Good call. Thank you, Austin.
Their first WNBA championship is what it looks like.
I don't need Alec Baldwin, who, by the way, I think is very funny. I don't need his Trump impersonation. Like it's this voice. This is the funny Trump.
Look at these guys, big guys.
Big guys. And Shane Gillis does it very well. So we're just having a little bit of fun with what came out of the ESPYs last night. We will, as the show progresses, get a little bit more serious. Next hour, Jesse Temple's going to be here about an hour and 10 minutes from now. We will discuss the latest in the Nyzier Fourqurean saga. He's not going to be able to play this year. So has a 7th Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled, siding with the NCAA in their quest to prevent him from playing. It's a bummer for the Badgers. But based on what I've read, and Austin, maybe we can get some of your thoughts on the other side. I feel like unless I'm missing something, I don't know why he should be able to play another year. He's played 4 full years. One of them was D2, sure, but he played 11 games. So unless there's something I'm missing, as big of a bummer as this is for the Badgers, especially also losing Xavier Lucas, I feel like the NCAA and the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals is in the right here. Unless, again, I'm missing something, and I could be. We can discuss after this break.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
For windows with the strongest resilience, you need the Pella Experience.
The biggest thing for us in the Experience Center was a collaboration with the team. We were able to come in and sit down and go over a bunch of different options, and it wasn't just us dictating what we wanted.
They asked us things we didn't even know or think about, from colors to hardware, and because of that, we were able to get the best possible look for our home.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Just like Jim and Haley, you too can see, feel, open, close, and compare dozens of window and door options from 7 different Pella lines, side by side, at our Pella Experience Center in Brookfield. And today is a great day to stop by because right now you can get 0% interest for up to 5 years. The Pella Experience Center is on Blue Mountain Road, kitty corner to delicious Cops. With a range of affordable options and products assembled in the USA, get the look you want at a price you can afford. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply in 7/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy this year. He's the first defensive player since Charles Woodson to win the Heisman. Congratulations, Travis Hunter, winning the Heisman. That's something they can never take away from you, unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case they can take that away from you.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? How what a season he had. Great, baby. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case... all bets are off.
I like the tribute to Norm Macdonald last night. I also forgot how much I just love that Norm joke. I mean, it's a simple enough joke. You're making a joke about O.J. Simpson murdering his wife and another guy. But the wording, I love the delivery at the beginning, Austin. And there's Charles Woodson. I always love the delivery of Norm. And then at the end, in which case, all bets are off. They maybe could take that Heisman away from you. So a couple fun moments from the ESPYs last night. We've been having a little bit of fun with some of the Shane Gillis jokes because I thought they were good. And you know who I thought, Austin? You know who takes a lot of bullets from sports fans these days? Pat McAfee. A lot of criticism, a lot of complaints. You know who looked like they were having a ball, laughing away and really appreciating the moment?
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee. Pat Murphy probably would have had a good time too. But I do tip my cap to Pat McAfee. He was on the baseball broadcast the other night. A lot of people were pissy about it. Okay, well, I guess that's not his fault. I saw his tweet where he was like, I tried a new thing, and it turns out people didn't like it so much. Pat McAfee's not my thing. But I do still appreciate his thing. And I like the videos of him laughing his ass off last night in the auditorium. He looked like he was having a good time. Austin, you were here for the rest of the hour. I want to talk about a current event with you in the final segment. But before we let you go, help me set the stage a little bit for later on in the show. We are now a week or so away from Packers training camp. While you are a Cubs fan, and I always say I don't hold that against you at all, you are a Packers fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you have some things that you're looking forward to at training camp next year. So next week.
Year.
Next
year.
It
better not be another
Actually,
year.
We're breaking the mold, Austin. I don't want to preview this training camp. I want to talk about 2026. Let's get way out ahead of this thing.
Well, you see, there's a couple guys that might not be on the team right now that are.
Tank for Arch Manning. We want to see how he looks in training camp.
Yep.
I like that. So maybe a couple players or a couple things. Let's start with one thing that you're excited or you're interested to see next week at camp.
Well, I'm most interested. It's maybe just a little gimmick thing, but the uniforms. We announced new uniforms on Wednesday, July 23rd, first day.
Right. So are they going to be kind of a?
It'll be our second take. I think it's a throwback uniform.
Are they like the blue and gold, the Acme Packer ones?
Maybe. I have no idea what to expect, but I know it'll be our second take on an alternate helmet that the NFL allows teams to wear now.
The one alternate helmet.
Yeah. The last year we had the white helmet. I like the all white jerseys. I think they just dropped the ball by wearing those on a noon game instead of a night game.
Yeah, that was a whole thing last year. I guess I get it, but the thing about Packers Twitter is those people, like, they could never hack it on Brewers Twitter.
No.
Like you could tell you guys get so bent out of shape about things that like Brewers Twitter wouldn't bat an eye at. So yeah, they're like, what a miss. You're wearing them at noon. I'm like, okay, but it was a big game. It was against the Texans. It's on Fox. Like, oh, okay. But these new jerseys, I would assume are going to look something like, I don't know, probably the Acme Packers, a little bit of a throwback.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
maybe.
we have that to look forward to next week.
Storylines, I guess, just see what if Matthew Golden's running with the ones. I would assume he is. I would assume he will be out there with Dobbs, Reed, and Golden. I would assume would be the ones for 3 setup.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just in general for this Packers season, I'm most excited for the passing attack. I'm excited to see the steps that Jordan Love makes. I think Jacobs is a tremendous, solid back that we're going to have back there, and we know we can pound the rock. We learned that last year. Now let's open up the playbook a little bit more. Love is fully healthy, knock on wood, and let's just go at it. Let's see what happens. I'm excited to see
I want to see his ass under center.
Mm-hmm.
I want some hard play action.
Yeah.
Like I want to see a little bit more of what we saw in year one. And
I want to see Love dicing him up.
I want to see under center.
Just give me that second half of 2023.
I need to
give it to me.
I crave it. I want to see him under center. Snap. Hard fake handoff. Not some half-ass little, token gesture. I want to see pull it out of Josh Jacobs' gut, roll to your right on the boot or the waggle, and here comes Jaden Reed or Romeo Dobbs wide open on a crosser.
Yeah.
That was more the first season, so I'm with you. I want to see some of that stuff.
And then
yes,
Tucker Kraft. I love me some Tucker Kraft. I think he's very good.
I think he is too.
I think he's really good.
So
I'm excited to see that.
you know who's a player that I think is going to be an entertaining storyline and that we're actually going to get to see in preseason. So, for example, Matthew Golden, we're all excited to see him. Maybe he plays a little in preseason, but I'd be shocked if he gets a ton of work.
Yeah.
You know who's going to get a pile of work in preseason? Probably Marshawn Lloyd. I feel
Probably.
yeah. This dude needs to.
He needs to prove himself.
I'll stop short of saying he needs to play in games. I'll just say he needs to participate.
Yeah.
Like just in
anything,
in all of it, the practices, the walkthroughs, the game, just everything and all the things. He needs to participate.
Yeah.
And I think he could be somebody who gets a lot of run in preseason games and racks up some stats and some highlight plays, which during preseason, like I want to see the Jeff Janices of the world light it up.
Yep.
Like I want to see Marshawn Lloyd again. Just participate. Like that's the best word I can come up with. That's what I want to see from him. And of course, I was doing Pack a Day with Andy the other night. He thinks is his name Taylor Elgzima, this Canadian quarterback who he thinks is going to get a lot of second half work in preseason games and is probably going to be a stat monster as well, throwing to guys like Malik Heath. I would imagine Savion Williams is a guy like
he'll get some run in the preseason.
He should.
Yeah.
He absolutely should.
Yeah.
And guys like that. So in the big picture, Austin, we can wrap up with this. I don't think we're going to glean a lot about this team big picture in preseason because they were good last year. The questions we have about this team are related to their ability to beat elite teams.
Yeah, we're not going to know. We're not going to have a take on this team until week 1.
And we're lucky because week 1 is legit. Like that's a must-win game.
I mean, the first 2 weeks are as legit as you can get. You're playing the top 2 teams of the NFC, not named the Eagles.
Absolutely. And we'll see what becomes of the Vikings, but it's not like week 1, they're not playing the Titans at noon. Like that's 3:30 at Lambeau against the division rival that's kind of taken your lunch money the last 4 years. They haven't beat them at Lambeau since 2021.
Yeah.
So that's a game that they need. We will be able to learn something week 1, but I think it will be until week 1 that we actually learn something about the team and their big picture status and odds for this year. I want to talk about an interesting story that's captivating the internet, Austin. And I want your take on this. There were some hijinks at a Coldplay concert. Now, Coldplay coming to Camp Randall in the near future. I would like to go if we're able to get tickets. I do enjoy Coldplay. An affair caught on the Jumbotron that has taken the internet and the country by storm. We'll discuss that next as we wrap up hour number 1.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show. Austin, this is not a song that's normally in Bill's rotation.
Not at all. The opposite.
If you'd believe it. Although I don't know. Bill has a more expansive music taste than maybe you'd expect. He knows music very well. I don't know if you know this about Bill. I learned this in New Orleans. He used to DJ in bars and in clubs. So if you listen to the radio with Bill, oldies, he knows everybody. He knows everything. So maybe Bill likes Coldplay, but Coldplay is taking the internet by storm today. They had a concert last night, and I apologize. I don't know where this concert is. Is this something that
Boston?
Okay, it was in Boston. So I don't know if it was Gillette. I assume it was at Gillette. So they were throwing people on the big screen, and apparently what happened is a couple who were embracing each other. Do you think that's a fair descriptor, Austin?
Yes, it was like hug from behind, swaying.
The man was embracing from behind, swaying to the song. And apparently the two people on the screen, it becomes clear they did not wish to be seen. The woman turns and covers her face. The man ducks out of the camera. They exposed astronomer CEO Andy Byron, who we can assume is having an affair with his HR chief, Kristen Cabot. These are high-ranking officials at a big company somewhere out in Boston. Wisco Greaves, I know he listens out in Massachusetts. He says, yep, on the live stream, he's way ahead of it. Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. Maybe you know more about this company or these people. Austin, I have takes on this. First of all, to the people who are digging up these people and their jobs and their families and finding the wife on Facebook, I think you need to get a job or a hobby.
There's better things you can be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the wife is going to see that.
They're going to see it eventually.
Let's calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Also, now this is not going to be a popular take. Is a man not allowed to sway with a coworker at a concert? Like, are we sure? Everyone just assumes they're having an affair. Okay, if I was his wife, I would not like this.
Yeah.
I'd probably be upset about this.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone just assumes that they're doing it on the side. They'd had a couple cocktails. Maybe she's cold. Yeah, it's not a good moment for a married man. But like, unless I'm missing something, and again, I could be. I don't see every single thing on the internet. Everyone's like, they're having an affair. Are they? I don't know. I feel like that's an unfair leap to take.
You know what? My take on this.
Please, here we go.
Is when you're doing this, if you are on the Jumbotron, you just gotta keep going. As soon as they turned away and ducked, that's when this became a thing.
No clutch jeans.
As soon as they tried to avoid the camera, this became a thing. If they just kept going like that, then you're only then you're hoping for that no one you know is at the concert, or no other coworkers is there, I guess, maybe. That's where you're hoping for. As soon as you turn away or try to avoid the camera, the whole internet has you.
Yeah.
It's over after that.
Now everyone becomes detectives. She covers her face. He drops out. It's like, okay.
They know that the Coldplay lead singer, I don't even know his name.
Chris Martin.
Yeah. He's on the microphone and the video. He's like, oh, they must be having an affair or something. It's like he literally said affair. And that's why I feel like that's also that is being pushed more.
What a nightmare for those two.
But yeah, we don't know exactly if it is an affair or not, but obviously
inappropriate.
Either way, in my opinion, as soon as they avoided the camera, it shows more.
Everyone's flags were up.
Yeah, I think it shows more than just that swaying and whatnot, but we'll see. I mean, I'm never going to meet these people, never going to know, but I'll probably find out eventually in the next couple weeks if they are going through anything or not.
Yeah,
because the spouses.
Yeah, because Pablo Torre is going to
go back.
Pablo Torre is going to go so deep on this thing. We're going to
know everything about these two
people.
Oh
God, which I'm telling you, we don't need to.
No,
it's a funny clip.
Don't. It's hilarious.
But this is why social media and the internet in 2025. It's like, did we need to then find their names, find where they work, realize that they're married? Like, did we need to do all that? Could it not just be, And those are two people that didn't want to be seen, and then we move on with our lives. I don't know. I feel bad for the couple. You're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Not excusing it, but again, I ask: Can a coworker not sway with another? I mean, the answer is no. The answer is no. Not with the HR director, which I guess
it is making radio.
the answer is no. I'm just posing the question. Well, Austin, I appreciate you. You were off to Country Thunder and then Wrigley this weekend, so we will not see you tomorrow. Correct?
Correct.
We'll have a great weekend. Safest travels, and
Waking
be
up in a
safe.
tent tomorrow.
Be safe at that country music. Remember to
Yes.
drink some water
No,
and
absolutely. Saturday, I need to be on good behavior because I cannot be hungover at the baseball game.
just drink a huge bottle of water in the morning. Maybe a liquid IV, build a base for success, eat a meal. Don't be an idiot. We need you back here next week.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy the weekend.
I will see you next week. You as well. Enjoy your weekend.
We appreciate it for your time. We'll be back for hour number 2 next. We'll get into sports. We'll get into some sports stuff. A little bit more specific sports stuff.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin has likely lost one of its top defenders for the 2025 season, cornerback Nyzier Fourqurean, who was initially denied an extra year of eligibility by the NCAA, only to be granted an injunction by a district judge that would have allowed him to play this fall. Saw that injunction overturned by the 7th District Court of Appeals yesterday. Wisconsin and Fourqurean had argued he should be granted another season, calling the NCAA's 5-year eligibility rule anti-competitive because it limited an athlete's ability to cash in on money for name, image, and likeness deals, among other reasons. Fourqurean played his first 2 seasons at Grand Valley State in Division II before transferring to Wisconsin prior to the 2023 season. He started 17 games over the last 2 years and was expected to be a starter this fall. Meanwhile, Packers training camp is less than a week away. The team's rookies will report tomorrow up in Green Bay. The rest of the veterans will come in on Tuesday. First practice that'll be on Wednesday. Now, one of the unknowns at this point, the status of Elton Jenkins, who stayed away from the entire voluntary portion of the LSU program as he looked for a new contract before he makes the move from guard to center. He did attend the mandatory minicamp in June, but did not practice.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
The Milwaukee Bucks announced the signing of free agent guard Cole Anthony and are bringing back Chris Livingston. And finally, the Brewers are back in action tomorrow night. They're out in L.A. and will face the Dodgers. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy this year. He's the first defensive player since Charles Woodson to win the Heisman. Congratulations, Travis Hunter, winning the Heisman. That's something they can never take away from you, unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case they can take that away from you.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? And what a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case all bets are off.
Pretty good. That was one of my favorite moments from the ESPYs last night. And I know how people feel about the ESPYs. Oh, that's ESPN. That's, they're I don't want to throw any political buzzwords around here, but let me put it this way. I think there's a certain feeling about ESPN and the ESPYs and Shane Gillis, a little bit of a departure from that norm. I don't know that a lot of people are uber focused on who is winning awards at the ESPYs. Austin has popped back in. I assume it's because you have something to say.
Yeah, it's just a quick update on the CEO of this Coldplay thing.
We've learned more?
The wife of the CEO removed the husband's last name from her Facebook already.
I mean, smart. They should have done that instantly last night. I just people need to.
Do
people not need to calm down a little bit?
A little.
Am
I mean, it's a little obsessive. The whole internet is over this, all over this.
But
right
you,
now.
but you seem to.
But it's funny.
You seem to be like.
I get a good laugh out of it. That's why.
You seem to want to hold these people's feet to the fire a little bit more than I. When
I would agree.
When I ask, can a coworker not sway with another? You basically looked at me and you're like,
probably not.
Probably not, Grant. Like, no, they can't. If you missed these clips, well, I appreciate it,
adios.
Austin.
See ya.
Call back in. You know the number if there are any more developments. In hour number 1, if you're just joining the show, a little bit of a variety hour. We react to some of, I think, the funnier moments of the ESPYs last night. Shane Gillis's monologue was pretty good. Had some good jokes in there. I enjoyed it. Again, no clue what awards they gave out. No clue. I don't know what happens at the ESPYs. I just watched the monologue, which is pretty funny. Some good topical sports jokes. That's an arena that I enjoy. I like jokes that are, built in a sporting framework around, sports headlines. I think that's funny. And I think it plays on sports radio. So we enjoyed that a little bit. Austin and I, right before we took the break at 11 o'clock, we're reacting to this clip that took place at a Coldplay concert. Now, Coldplay is going to be, they're in Madison this weekend. I thought we had a couple weeks. I was going to try to go, but I can't go this weekend. Unless are they doing a Sunday night show? I should know these things. But they're going to be in Madison this weekend, but a lot of people reacting to that clip of I guess the CEO of a company and the HR director swaying with each other, only then to be put on the Jumbotron, and then they hide, very clearly admitting guilt in their actions. It's like, if you guys just would have had a little bit more of you just got to keep a steady hand through that. You can't go dodging the camera like that, because now everyone's antennas are up and they found the people and they found their significant others on Facebook, as Austin was saying, and it's become a whole thing. So later this hour, we're going to get a little more hardcore sports here. I wouldn't call it hardcore because there's not many sporting things going on, but we are going to focus a little bit more on the Brewers, on baseball, and the Badgers, because there was a big Badger story yesterday that we talked about at the very end of the show, and we had Zach Heilprin calling for the second day in a row. God bless Zach, to talk about the situation surrounding Nyzier Fourqurean, who, and this has been a saga since the spring. This has been reported on especially well by Colton Bartholomew, who I think does a better job with this stuff, even going back to his coverage of Division III sports. Nobody does this better than him. And Zach and Jesse would tell you that. Zach has been very clear, as has Jesse. I'm kind of sick of talking about the Xavier Lucas thing. That's, for the most part, not why people get into sports. You don't cover college football. You don't get into this to talk about court cases and appeals. And some people might. I don't know that it's Colton's passion, over talking about, line player, the trenches or whatever, but Colton does an exceptional job with it. His story at Badger Extra from yesterday, kind of outlining what happened. So basically, I will explain this in the most bare bones way possible. Nyzier Fourqurean has played 4 seasons of football. One of those seasons was at Grand Valley State, which is Division II. He played 11 games that season. So it's not like he redshirted at a D2 school while he was injured or something. He played a season of football there. Part of the reason he went there was to be closer to his family. If memory serves correct, his father was ill, or his father was in the process of passing away. He wanted to be closer to family, so maybe there's some sort of family hardship exemption. Maybe that was part of their court case. In any event, it didn't work. He originally applied for an injunction, or UW on his behalf applied for an injunction earlier this year that was granted by a local judge in Madison, Judge William N. Connolly, if I'm reading this correctly. The appeal then came from the NCAA through the 7th or the 6th, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. 3 judges reversed it yesterday. It was announced in a 2-1 decision that strikes down that preliminary injunction that was won in a district court in Madison. I was talking with Zach a little bit about this last night, and I was joking a bit that was a Homer judge, and he's like, well, that's not how the law works. And I was like, well, we don't know how the law works. I don't know how any of this works. This said, the original injunction imposed by Judge William Connolly said the NCAA's lack of meaningful exceptions to its 5-year eligibility rules, as well as the potential financial losses Fourqurean could endure by not being able to play and connect NIL and revenue sharing monies coming to players, gave Fourqurean enough of a case to play for the Badgers this fall. So the case was, and this is directly from the reporting and the writing of Colton Bartholomew at Badger Extra in the State Journal yesterday. The case or the explanation or the argument that was being made on Fourqurean's behalf was the NCAA does not have enough exceptions. We should get some sort of exception for Division II or some sort of family hardship situation. which I guess you can make that claim. But then the rest of it, as I've read more and more about this, the rest of the case is seemingly built around, well, look at all the money Fourqurean stands to lose if he can't play because of NIL and because of revenue sharing monies, which I don't hear that as a reason why he should be able to play. I hear that as a reason why it would suck if he's not able to play. But that has no legal standing, at least in my perspective. Again, I'm far from a legal scholar, but if I go to a judge and I'm trying to convince them to let me do something, my argument can't just be, well, I'll make a lot of money. And they're like, oh, well, in that case, sure, go ahead, Skipper. You go nuts, play a fifth year. Like, that's not an argument. That's ethos as to why, he wants to play and why it would be better if he played, but it's not a legal argument. More from Colton Bartholomew. Fourqurean's exclusion from this market alone does not suffice to show likely anti-competitive effects. The circuit court ruling reads, at this stage of litigation, Fourqurean has therefore failed to meet his burden of establishing some likelihood that he will prevail on the merits of his antitrust claim, and that the district court should not have granted this motion from a preliminary injunction. This is why legalese is difficult sometimes, is because that's not written for the everyman to understand. The first sentence of that, I think I'm grasping at what it means. Fourqurean's exclusion from this market alone does not suffice to show likely anti-competitive effects, meaning just because he can't make NIL money and revenue sharing money doesn't mean we should allow him to play. Like, that can't be the argument. I think I'm reading that correctly, which taking my Badgers bias aside, is something I agree with. Continue to quote, Fourqurean has made no effort to establish this theory of anti-competitive effects. The dissenting opinion of this 3-judge panel given by Circuit Judge Kenneth F. Ripple said the 5-year rule is anti-competitive by pushing out the most experienced players and limiting their compensation, but Fourqurean's argument didn't offer evidence to that point. Again, the argument is, let me play a 5th year, I stand to make a lot of money. That's not a reason to continue to play. Fourqurean's chances of playing now come down to whether the NCAA will reconsider its denial of the waiver request, because an appeal of the circuit court's decision wouldn't be heard by the time Wisconsin's season begins August 28th. So the appeal to the appeal is not in a reasonable timetable for him to actually play football this year. And I also don't understand why then another court of appeals would see it differently, but that happened once, so who knows? Quote, we do not exclude the possibility that on a fuller record, Fourqurean will succeed in establishing his claim, the decision reads. We also recognize that the 2025-26 college football season begins soon. In this context, we encourage the parties in the district court to expedite the coming litigation. I would agree there has to be a way to get this done in the next month. But then again, the courts are busy. I don't know. I watch Better Call Saul. That's about it. Well, it's not our prerogative to direct the parties on how to succeed. We also note that the NCAA's bylaws against the NCAA's commitment for legislative relief to grant relief from application of the NCAA. I'm halfway through this. I don't even know what that means. So I'm going to read you the NCAA's statement on this. I'm not telling you the NCAA is good or correct or right. I think they're correct in this instance, although they didn't levy the ruling. It was ruled by a circuit court of appeals. It's the statement from the NCAA on this that is just laughable to me. The NCAA and its member schools strive to provide world-class athletics and academic experiences for student athletes that foster lifelong well-being. This is the ridiculous statement to me. The member-approved rules, including years of eligibility, are designed to help ensure competition is safe and fair, aligning collegiate academic and athletic careers to provide high-level opportunities that benefit hundreds of thousands of student athletes. That's where I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not buying this for a second. I don't think that Fourqurean, based on the argument his camp was making, should be granted a 5th year. It seems like a really weak argument. But the NCAA coming out and saying, well, this aligns with our motivation to match up athletic and academic careers of our student athletes. It's like, since when? You guys don't care. That's not a focus of yours. You guys don't have any morals or standings for anything. I think this decision by the circuit court, again, is correct. Because why should he get a 5th year of playing, if I'm reading correctly, but a 6th year of college? Fourqurean denial of a 6th year now deals a blow to the Badgers secondary, where he figured to be a starter who would take a large share of snaps at boundary corner. Wisconsin brought in Miami transfer Deone Hill as another boundary option, and he was Fourqurean's primary backup during spring practices, but Fourqurean's experience and skill will be difficult to replace. Here's what's interesting, and we can talk about this with Colton Bartholomew. He's going to join me tomorrow. The Xavier Lucas timeline makes this interesting because I don't know if any of this would be going on. If I remember the timeline correctly, I don't know if Wisconsin would be battling for this eligibility if Xavier Lucas was still in town. If Xavier Lucas doesn't transfer to Miami, I don't think Wisconsin would have their backup about this. I don't think they'd be fighting this thing tooth and nail in court. I think they'd be like, yeah, he's played 4 years, whatever. Move on, man. Best of luck. Any professional opportunities or wherever you're going here, like, best of luck. We got Xavier Lucas. I think it was the departure of Xavier Lucas to Miami, which has spurred, controversy and legal action of its own. Not really interested in talking about that today, but Xavier Lucas is gone. So all of a sudden Wisconsin goes, well, crap, we need another outside corner. Let's see if we can't get Fourqurean another year of eligibility. I don't think any of this is taking place if Xavier Lucas is still in Wisconsin, according to UW and the legal action they're taking per his original agreement, which we'll see how the courts rule on that. I'm sure it will be swift and accurate, and the NCAA will respond with no nonsense in their statement without blowing smoke up our rear ends. I mean, the NCAA is incredible at pissing on us and telling that it's raining. Like, we aim to align athletic and academic careers in our student athletes. Like, no, you guys don't. You do whatever you want to do based on the way the wind is blowing day by day, and then you hit us with this grandstanding, highfalutin language that makes it sound like you have the best interests in everyone in mind, even though you obviously and clearly don't, and you haven't had in a long time. That being said, I don't disagree with this verdict, again, unless I'm missing something. I just also want to tell the NCAA to shove it, because whether they're on the right or the wrong side of this, I very rarely believe them to be genuine or correct in most of the things they say or present. Fourqurean's case was seen by some as a similar argument for Division II players. His fight started as a waiver request that his 2021 season at Grand Valley State University not count against his eligibility due to his father's death the summer before the season, which caused hardship. That seems to me like that needs to be the crux of your argument. I went D2 to try to keep my football career on life support while my family grieved and while I returned to the main state of things. That seems to me like that needs to be the pillar of your legal argument. If I was a judge and a lawyer and his player come to me, it's like, you need to grant us another season because look at all the money we stand to lose if you don't. That's a bummer for you, but that's not my problem. And it certainly doesn't seem to have legal standing. The hardship situation, that's something you could build a case around. I still don't know if it would be enough, but that seems like more of a winning argument than the argument that for the most part they've taken. Wisconsin filed the NCAA waiver request on Fourqurean's behalf in December and provided supplemental documents, including a letter from assistant coach Matt Mitchell, who was Fourqurean's coach at Grand Valley State when he filed suit in district court. Conley's injunction was specific in nothing that the decision to block the NCAA's 5-year rule, athletes have 5 school years to play 4 seasons of their sport, applied only to Fourqurean's case. Quote, going back through that entire process, it was obviously a lot of back and forth while I was going through it, Fourqurean said in April of his lawsuit in district court. But I think it helped a lot just knowing that Coach Fickle had my back through the entire thing and that they were riding with me through the very end. Fourqurean told Badger Extra in April that he and his agent had explored professional football opportunities in the winter when his original waiver request was being processed. Here's the thing for Fourqurean, and this is what's tough. The UFL's in the offseason, and you can't join into the NFL until you apply to next year's draft. You're caught betwixt and like he's up a river now without a paddle. He's a player who would be certainly very, very productive at college and a very valued member of that Badger secondary. He'd also someone who could probably get a spin in the UFL or the NFL. And once you get a shot, you have a shot to prove yourself and make a career. But the timing now has him so far up a creek. He's either got to sit around and work out and not play college football this year and wait for the draft or wait for the UFL. Like it's kind of a mess. But that mess is not legally valid. It's not my problem. Like, poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. You hear lines of thinking, or you hear that expression a lot. I see that a lot at the guitar store. That seems to be in multiple guitar stores that I've gone to, whether it's Dave's in La Crosse. When I used to go to a couple spots in Eau Claire, I would go to Speed of Sound I think it was on Birch Street. And there was a sign right at the counter like, hey, man, poor planning by you does not mean like, don't come in here the day of a gig and be like, it's an emergency, my gear, something, I need something for a gig tonight. It's like, man, this gig's been on the calendar, buddy. Like, I know you're in a tough spot, but that's not my problem. I think the approach legally in a court would probably be similar. Hey, man, you got to grant me an extra year of eligibility. Look at all the money I stand to lose. Like, I'm sorry about that. But what is that? What leg does that have to stand on in a court of law? So I think I'm starting to understand the situation. It's very interesting. And unless what we've read and seen publicly from Luke Fickell is a front, and the conversations and the thought processes from Fickell and his coaching staff behind closed doors have been different. I also think this is a bad look for Luke Fickell in that athletic department, because they, throughout this process, have been so boisterous that they're going to win this appeal and he's going to be eligible. So we're not even making a backup plan. We're not even going to worry about it. And I'm telling you, now that I know some of the details of this thing, you should have been making a backup plan. And if you weren't behind closed doors, it's a bad look for you. So let's discuss that concept coming up next. And if you have anything to add to this, I would love to take your calls or texts. 608-321-1670. Jesse Temple will join us in about a half hour to color in the blanks a little bit further. It's more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gear up for Quick Trip's Mountain Dew Quick Climb. Now through August 17th. Play free daily in the Quick Rewards app and earn bonus plays with every eligible purchase. Grab one with hot food. That's 2 bonus plays. Each week, the cash prize climbs by $5,000, all the way to a $250,000 grand prize. So open the app and get climbing. Your summer, your climb, your win. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents residing in Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, South Dakota, North Dakota, or Wisconsin. Ends August 17th. Bonus plays require qualifying purchase. See full rules at quicktrip.com/sweepstakes.
For windows with the strongest resilience, you need the Pella Experience.
The biggest thing for us in the Experience Center was a collaboration with the team. We were able to come in and sit down and go over a bunch of different options. And it wasn't just us dictating what we wanted.
They asked us things we didn't even know or think about, from colors to hardware. And because of that, we were able to get the best possible look for our home.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Just like Jim and Haley, you too can see, feel, open, close, and compare dozens of window and door options from 7 different Pella lines, side by side, at our Pella Experience Center in Brookfield. And today is a great day to stop by, because right now you can get 0% interest for up to 5 years. The Pella Experience Center is on Blue Mountain Road, kitty corner to delicious cups. With a range of affordable options and products assembled in the USA, get the look you want at a price you can afford. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Server restrictions apply in 7/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Nyzier's kind of in a tough position where he's.
Why is that?
Well, he's got that hearing in May later.
He's playing.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know why would there be any tough
There's a
situation.
limbo. He could be ruled.
No, it's not. I mean, no, he's not going to be. So I don't know why it would cause him any limbo. It's kind of that same thing. People tell you today it's harder to build teams and programs and cultures because of the nature of college football. I think that's just an excuse. All right, it's the same thing. Why would you put anything in your head that would keep you from doing everything that you need to do here and how you're going to grow to move forward? And so I don't think that there's anything that is going to hold him back or should be in his mind of any sorts. We're moving forward 100%, and that's what we believe.
He's been handling it pretty well, and just
he's a very mature kid. And I think that the initial part of it was what's the tough situation, but ever since then, I think that he knows what he needs to do, and he knows we're going to get it done.
That's from late May, I believe, either April or May. I was looking at some articles and I found that tweet. That tweet was from late May, so I assume that's when that exchange was. That first voice that you heard was Colton Bartholomew, Badger Extra, State Journal, and Colton's done an incredible job covering stories like this, going back to when he was covering WEAC football when he was at the Lacrosse Tribune. I would see him a lot in lacrosse, covering UWL games or preps around the area. Like, he's always been really, really good at this stuff. And he is the one I would reference his reporting. And Jesse and Zach are awesome. And Zach is a direct coworker. Jesse is someone that we work with here on this network. He's a contributor once a week to all the shows. I think both of them would tell you they prefer to cover the football. And they cover the facts of cases like this, whether it be Xavier Lucas or Nyzier Fourqurean. I don't think that's what gets their rocks off. Now, we're going to talk about it with Jesse in about 20 minutes. Colton's work at Badger Extra has done a great job outlining this, and that was the voice you heard at the beginning. I'll play this exchange one more time, because sometimes when I play a cut coming back from commercial break before you'd have a chance to discuss, without any context, maybe it's not clear. This is from spring ball when Colton is basically what's going on with Fourqurean? He's in limbo. He's got a hearing coming up, basically asking Fickell about the possibility that this doesn't go UW's way and Fourqurean won't be able to play, which is what was ruled yesterday.
Nyzier's kind of in a tough position where he's.
Why is that?
Well, he's got that hearing in May later.
He's playing.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know why would there be any tough situation.
He could be ruled.
No, he's not going to be.
Well, there has been. Now he's not going to be able to play. Look, I'm not just trying to rip Luke Fickell here. I understand when speaking publicly, you may want to present a certain opinion or an image. And when a player is in limbo, and Luke Fickell can say that he's not, but he literally was. Legally, there's legal standing for this limbo. Luke Fickell can present confidently and say, no, he's playing. We're preparing as if he's going to be good. He's locked in. We're locked in. I understand saying that publicly. My hesitation, and I tweeted about this last night at Wisco Grant, is that I hope he was saying something different behind closed doors. I hope behind closed doors with his staff and with his coaches, he was preparing for this possibility. Maybe not expecting it, but if he wasn't preparing for it, you're not doing your job. You lost a majority of that secondary, including Xavier Lucas. Luckily, Ricardo Hallman said no to a shot at the NFL to come back and play. You're lacking depth. You're lacking experience. You're lacking a lot on that back end. I hope that Luke Fickell and his coaches behind closed doors, at the very least, were prepared for this possibility. I understand that if publicly you don't want to show any cracks in that armor, he's going to play. Why would he not play? We're confident he's going to be able. I understand that. But if Luke Fickell, with his other assistant coaches and his recruiting directors and all the people, the brain trust behind closed doors, if they were not, preparing for this eventuality, if they were not preparing a plan B and C, then I think that makes them look very bad. right? Especially now that I kind of learned more about this case, because it's been in the back of my mind. I've been asking Zach about it, but this isn't something that we were going to discuss until it really became front of mind when there was some sort of verdict rendered, and there was yesterday by the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. It's just not something that I was going to dig into. Now that I'm digging into it, it's like, wait a minute. Your argument for him getting another season of eligibility is the money that he stands to make via NIL and revenue sharing? Lost wages, like, again, an emergency or a missed opportunity on your part does not constitute responsibility from me, right? And again, I'll use the analogy for those who've tuned in the last 15 minutes. If you ever go into a guitar store or a music store, you'll hear this, or there'll often be signs, because this is something that happens, I would assume, a lot in the music world. I can understand why it happens. It's never happened to me. I'm not like a full-time musician, but among full-time musicians, guitarists, keyboardists, whatever, when there's sound equipment and when there's equipment in play, I think probably what happens a lot is all of a sudden it's Friday night. We have a show to play at this club at 9 p.m. It's 3 o'clock, and I realize that this pedal or this cable or this thing isn't working, and I need it fixed now, and I need it, fixed before tonight. And you go into these music stores, and they're like, hey, man, failure to prepare is not I got an emergency. Not for us. It's an emergency for you, because you put yourself in the situation. And that's the analogy that I think best applies to what's going on with Nyzier Fourqurean. It's like, okay, so you're in a tough spot because you missed out on your chance to go to the NFL. You missed the window for the UFL, and you're going to potentially miss out on a lot of money in NIL and revenue sharing earnings. That's not legal standing to get another year of eligibility. D2 is under the umbrella of the NCAA. So it's not like he went to the moon for a year. Or probably a better example, community college, which doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of the NCAA, but D2 at a big time university, Grand Valley State. It's not like he went off to the middle of nowhere because his dad. Now, the hardship exemption, I don't know the exact leanings of the NCAA or the circuit court that was ruling on this between the NCAA and UW and Nyzier Fourqurean's representation. I don't know. Maybe the hardship, maybe they didn't play the hardship angle enough with his family and his father's illness. Maybe, I don't know. But the more I read about this, it's like, yeah, this seemed like a long shot that this was going to work and hold up, even though the first judge went for it. This case seems pretty shaky. And Luke Fickell publicly, again, gave no room for this eventuality. I'll play this exchange with Colton Bartholomew one more time. This is from late May.
Nyzier's kind of in a tough position where he's.
Why is that?
Well, he's got that hearing in May later.
He's playing.
Okay.
So I don't know why would there be any tough situation.
Limbo. He could be.
No, he's not. He's not going to be. So I don't know why it would cause him any limbo. It's kind of that same thing. People tell you today it's harder to build teams and programs and cultures because of the nature of college football. I think that's just an excuse. Right? It's the same.
So
thing.
and then he goes on to talk about team building and blah blah blah. But Luke Fickell denying that there's any limbo. I mean, that's just factually incorrect. He literally was in limbo, waiting for a verdict, waiting for a decision. Again, publicly, I understand Luke Fickell, although I don't appreciate him dismissing Colton's inquiry because I don't think Colton deserved that. I think it's a very valid question. If you want to express confidence and say he's going to be able to play, we have full faith in his case and his availability for this fall. But behind closed doors, you better have been making other plans or a plan B or a plan C. Otherwise, you're a bad coach because this case is shaky. And the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals laid that bare yesterday. So I have questions. This has been a little bit of an issue with the Fickell regime. There's a lot of confidence. I don't know that we've seen a ton of competence. That's my concern. And this is just another example on the list. TR is on the live stream. TR, I got bad news for you, buddy. He says, we're still talking about this. Yeah, it's the biggest story of the day, guy. And we're going to talk a lot more about it. Unless there's something like we'll work on some Packers stuff. We'll discuss. We'll get ready for camp. We'll continue to do that. And we'll talk a little baseball too. But yeah, we're talking about this is the biggest story of the day. This is a quiet week. And this is a big deal for UW. This is a massive piece of their secondary, as Jesse will explain coming up. This was not a possibility that Fickell publicly seemed to be prepared for, which is a bad look for him. So we're going to hold UW's feet to the fire on this. This is the story of the day. It's interesting. It's not reacting to Packers Vikings, but sorry, TR, it's the middle of July. So I'm doing my best here. Your thoughts on this? I'll continue to take comments on the live stream. Yes, even you, TR, because I get a kick out of you. Maybe we'll work in some Marquette talk today. And your phone calls and texts at 608-321-1670.
Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the Bill Michaels Show. Talking college football. This Nyzier Fourqurean situation is, let me put it this way. It's very, very interesting. There are lots of fun angles. I also recognize that if there were any Packers storylines or Brewers storylines, we'd probably do 20 minutes on this and then we'd move on. But given that it's the All-Star break, we're going to dig into a little bit more deeply. Jesse Temple is going to be here in 10 minutes, which works out perfectly because he's normally here on Thursdays anyways, so he can slot right in Badger Connect. We'll talk about this and then, some of his latest stories and pieces and bits of media because he does the Badger Bites, the videos with athletes, which are absolutely awesome. But this is timely as well. I'm glad this story broke this week because it gives us something to talk about during a slow week. And it's also timed well because I literally asked Zach about this 2 days ago on this show when he sat down for the final hour. We were kind of just kicking around some Packers training camp thoughts because he's going to be up there covering it, our sports director. And I asked him this just as a throwaway at the end of kind of our Badgers conversation.
We still don't know if Nyzier Fourqurean is able to play.
He's able to play until he's not.
Jesus.
That case is still it's still in the courts right now. And we'll see. Wisconsin is approaching it as if he's going to play, but all it takes is one judge to be like, or the judge, I think there's 3 judges that could be like, well, no.
I love Zach so much because Zach's covering this. Like he's all over it as a credentialed, highly decorated member of the Badgers beat. But he's also like, I would rather just talk about the football stuff, but he's in the loop. He knew the judges. He knew the 7th Circuit. He's following it. I just think he'd rather be following anything else. Johnny Cribbage, I'm not going to read that text regarding Fickle. I can't do that. We have a text from Aaron in Marshall. This is great. Can't blame him for trying, but stick a Fourqurean in him. He's done. Regardless of the merits of this case, can you imagine the landslide in wake of favorable verdict? I think I may have another year of eligibility. Yeah, this case seems shaky. And again, I keep leaving wiggle room for myself. It's like I could be missing something. It's just what I'm reading and seeing in the work of Colton and others. I could be missing something, but this case seems shaky. And it's like, okay, which is why I go back to Fickle's comments. When Colton asked him at spring ball, it's like, so, talk about it. Colton was basically, what Colton was doing in this exchange? He was throwing Fickle a softball. Talk about Nyzier Fourqurean, how well he's handled this, the limbo that he's in. And instead, Fickle wants to get his back up because Colton's asking about something they didn't want to talk about.
Nyzier's kind of in a tough position where
Why is that?
Well, he's got that hearing in May later.
He's playing.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know why would there be any tough situation.
Limbo. He could be ruled.
No, he's not going to be. So
There's limbo. Don't deny the limbo. There is limbo. Not to sound all Seinfeld. There is limbo. Legally, literally, there is limbo. He was in limbo. So that's real. You can project all the confidence you want in the world that he's going to be able to play. In fact, I probably think that's smart. When a defense attorney in a high-stakes trial is interviewed publicly, here's what you don't hear him say. You don't hear him say, well, we'll see, not quite sure. No, you see, of course, we believe in our case. The facts are clear. We've laid it out. We have no doubt that a jury of my client's peers will rule in our favor. That's what you say. But then behind closed doors, you know what the lawyer and the client are saying? Okay, well, here are our other options, just in case. Just in case it doesn't play well to the jury, like here's, we could work out this or that or the other thing. And I hope that's what Fickle and his staff was doing behind the scenes, because now they're in a situation with their secondary. They were missing a piece that they were really going to rely on. We'll talk about this, a little bit of a quick segment here, because I want to have some time with Jesse on the other side. Jesse Temple, Badger Connect, going to join us next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
For windows with the strongest resilience, you need the Pella Experience.
The biggest thing for us in the Experience Center was a collaboration with the team. We were able to come in and sit down and go over a bunch of different options, and it wasn't just us dictating what we wanted.
They asked us things we didn't even know or think about, from colors to hardware, and because of that, we were able to get the best possible look for our home.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Just like Jim and Haley, you too can see, feel, open, close, and compare dozens of window and door options from 7 different Pella lines, side by side, at our Pella Experience Center in Brookfield. And today is a great day to stop by because right now you can get 0% interest for up to 5 years. The Pella Experience Center is on Blue Mountain Road, kitty corner to delicious cups, with a range of the look you want at a price you can afford. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply in 7/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Jesse. Jesse. Hey, Jesse. 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 Jesse.
I think Breaking Bad's one of the most under-memed shows that we have. This is the intro that I normally play when I have Jesse on my show in the evening. However, I normally pre-record with Jesse, so he never hears that. I can't say for sure. I would imagine that he's rolling his eyes at that little introduction. Jesse Temple, Badger Connect, is here. And a great day for it because we have Badgers news to discuss. Jesse, how are you doing this week? Another legal story. You have to be thrilled about this.
Yeah, it's everybody's favorite college football offseason story that has nothing to do with what's happening on the field. That's actually the first time that I've heard that intro. So I'd never heard that before. To be honest.
I figured because I was playing, I pre-record and then I play the interview later. I'm like, okay, so you get to hear it officially. I just like Breaking Bad. It makes me laugh, and I don't know. That's good enough for me. So not just Xavier Lucas. Now we have a second legal story. I understand we're not going to get into like the most specific legalese, but broadly speaking, what is the argument that Nyzier Fourqurean and his camp presented to the first judge and then the second panel of judges in the Court of Appeals? What was their case? Can you sum it up in probably language that most of us understand?
Sure. Well, we're having this discussion because the NCAA won, or at least the next phase of this ongoing legal battle kind of overturned the previous ruling 2-1 that Nyzier Fourqurean's preliminary injunction was overturned, which means as of now, he's not going to be a member of the Badgers this season. But this all started because Nyzier and his lawyers argued that he should have another year of eligibility because of, a couple different reasons. Okay. He originally started at Grand Valley State, which is a Division II school. And one of the arguments that was made was, the summer before one of the seasons, his father passed away and he didn't have a lot of practice opportunity. And though he played in games, it sort of all amounted to a number of snaps that were minimal. And then on top of that, there was an argument about he stood to gain significantly this year from NIL. I think he had said potential 6-figure deals, where obviously that didn't exist at the Division II level. Now, I always thought this particular case was a bit dubious because an extra year of eligibility struck me as strange when you consider that he was already under the NCAA umbrella.
Yep.
At a Division II school. This whole thing came about because Diego Pavia, the quarterback at Vanderbilt, won his argument that the junior college year shouldn't count. So then Fourqurean pursued this avenue. And ultimately, when the injunction he got the injunction, the judge, it wasn't about the NCAA eligibility, like you didn't play enough snaps. It was simply about how arbitrary the rulings were for how you're granted another year of eligibility.
Sure.
So that's a mouthful of words to say. It's been quite a saga, and obviously they're going to continue to fight this, but we're 12 days out from fall camp and everything moves very slowly. So I don't really know whether there's going to be a victory for him in the future. And he's just in a really tough spot right now.
So the hardship with his family, and I don't know, was it a crazy, because he played in 11 games at Grand Valley State, right? But you're telling me that the snaps were minimal. Are they actually, or is that just the spin they were putting on a season where he played 11 games? It's not like he played 2 games. Like 11 is a lot of games.
Yeah, I think it was like, well, if the totality of those snaps amounted to not a bunch of games. I mean, he basically appeared in 11 games. He had 13 tackles, but he played sparingly and then was also battling through the death of his father. That was part of why they were seeking, at the time, immediate injunctive relief, because he had to declare for the NFL draft by February 7th, and obviously didn't do that. Now the draft has happened, so there's not a lot of options for him right now.
So he's a little bit up a creek with his options. You use the word dubious. I think that's a good word. I don't understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't understand how the argument of, well, I stand to make a lot of money is an argument for another year of eligibility. You know what I mean? Like, that sucks for him, and that's a bummer, but that doesn't have any legal standing, right? Unless I'm missing something?
Well, I think it had to do with, like, the NIL rules when they first started. I don't really fully, I mean, when he was in a Division II school, he wasn't going to make money. So it was sort of like, well, this was anti-competitive. Like, I was at a significant disadvantage.
Okay.
And the NCAA stated that the ruling upholds its rules designed for fair competition and student athlete well-being. I mean, I think he was kind of like, well, this is unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. Can we get to football season, please?
Yeah, right. No kidding. And let's talk about the football implications here. I went back and I listened to Luke Fickell's comments about this from the spring, because he was very confident. I have the clip. I've been playing it of Colton asking him, how is Nyzier handling this? He's basically in limbo. And Fickell said, there's no limbo. He's going to be able to play. And I bring that up because I'm wondering, and maybe you can speak to this, were Luke Fickell and his coaches preparing for this opportunity behind closed doors while presenting the utmost confidence publicly? Because they're now in a really tough spot in the secondary, and I hope they at least thought of what they could do if this came to a head, which it eventually did. That's my concern.
Yeah, well, during practices, Nyzier got all the first team reps. Look, if he was going to be a part of the team, he was going to be a part of the team. But if they were smart, certainly between the end of spring practices and now, they had to consider what their alternatives were. And I will say, when Luke said that, there are different ways to handle certain questions, and that one didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It was as though he was trying to speak it into existence that there's no issue here. I can understand the intent behind what he was saying, which is like, look, we're preparing right now. His headspace is he needs to focus on what's happening now, and we'll worry about that when it comes. But that's not how it was framed. And I think, it doesn't look great when you basically make the questioner like almost like they were trying to make him feel dumb for even bringing up the idea that it was a possibility that Nyzier's situation might be reversed. But ultimately, this is where we're at. And Wisconsin, I mean, certainly they got alternative plans, and there are a number of options they can do here. Like they brought in Deone Hill from Miami, who started 5 games last year. They could move him up. They also brought in Jameer Latimer II, who was primed to be the top nickel corner, but maybe they move him to the outside. And then the other option that I think is really intriguing is Austin Brown has played in the slot. He was going to be a starting safety. Maybe they move him into the slot and they feel good enough about one of their transfers, like a Matt Young, who transferred from Division III Bethel, or a Matthew Trainer, who transferred from FCS Richmond, to make him a starting safety. One of those two opposite Preston Zachman, and you put Austin Brown in the slot. I think if this were a different position, you'd feel much worse about it. But I don't want to minimize how important Nyzier was to the secondary and that cornerback room. I just think they've at least got some options. And if there is a silver lining, this happens about 2 weeks before fall camp, so you can prep your guys, as opposed to it's game week and we just lost our starting cornerback.
Of course, it could always be worse. That's a life lesson that I try to remind myself at just about every opportunity. And how lucky are they that Ricardo Holman is back for another year? Because that wasn't a given, right? He was a guy who could have explored NFL opportunities. How lucky are that he's back in that room this year, because that wasn't guaranteed.
Oh, it certainly helps. And last year, I mean, Nyzier took a lot of the throws in his direction because people saw what Ricardo did 2 years ago. He had 7 interceptions and nobody really wanted to throw in his direction. So I'll be interested to see what happens this year. I imagine quarterbacks are going to be looking at this and thinking, whoever they put out there opposite Rico, we want to throw to him. But Hallman is he's a great leader. He's extremely respected. And at least you have that you can bank on. But it's almost a completely new cornerback room other than Hallman and then Emilio Agard, who's just a second-year player. They totally overturned that room.
So let's talk about the offensive side, because we're coming up here on fall camp for a Badger Bite at Badger Connect. Jesse Temple is here, by the way. You spoke with Joe Bruner about that offensive line and kind of how that's shaping up. And it seems in all of your interviews and your commentary and your stories on this, all these guys, especially on the O-line and the tight ends, the fullbacks, they're jacked for the direction of Wisconsin football. Can you talk a little bit about that interview and maybe some of the different things that we could see in camp on the offensive line and on that offense specifically, differing from last year or the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously hope springs eternal this time of year, and it's great to be excited. 2 years ago, everyone was excited about Phil Longo's offense, and it didn't materialize. But what I will say, and I've said this since the spring, Grant, as you know, is everything that they've done this offseason just feels like it makes so much more sense for what Wisconsin has been and what it ought to be in the future. It doesn't mean you have to be stuck in 1992, but you can take the concepts that worked for 30 years and expand on them. And that feels like what they're trying to do with Jeff Grimes and all these offensive linemen. You can feel the excitement in the way that they talk and the smiles that they have. And that can sound super cliche, but these dudes came here because they want to knock some people into another gear.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to have the opportunity to do. It's based on physicality. It's a run first approach. And I mean, Joe Brunner is a great example of an in-state guy who grew up watching some of the best O-lines. In that interview, he mentioned the 2010, the 2011 offensive line, the 2014 line that blocked for Melvin Gordon's record-breaking season. They want to be able to get back to some of that physicality and nastiness, and it really feels like they have some of the pieces where they can do that. The questions are, what do they do at left tackle? Because Kevin Haywood suffered a torn ACL. He was your projected starter. They brought in Davis Heinsohn from Central Michigan, presumably to fill that spot. Brunner's going to be your starting left guard if all works out, but they've got an opening at right guard, which is an ongoing competition. So at the very least, they've got 3 returning starters. And there's a lot to be excited about with that offensive line.
And I'm excited. I hopefully we can see that O-line and that offense kind of do what they've done to lesser teams in the past, talking about Miami and Middle Tennessee. If that's the week 2 opponent, I think, I don't have the schedule in front of me. Hopefully they're able to clobber those teams and we're able to see that physicality early and often. Got about a minute. You have a new episode of the Camp Out with Zach today. What can we find in that episode? And then what can we look for at Badger Connect over the next 2 weeks as we prepare for fall camp?
Well, we did address the Nyzier Fourqurean situation. We also talked about the Billy Edwards Jr. Bro Pribula story. Bo said on a podcast, he's a former Penn State quarterback who's now in Missouri, that he was going to take a visit to Wisconsin. That was going to be his first visit, and Wisconsin ended up getting Billy Edwards Jr. So it's an interesting sliding door situation. And Badger Connect, well, there's an open basketball practice today for reporters for the first time this less than 2 weeks away.
It's all starting to fire up. It's that time of year, Jesse. Well, I appreciate your time, and we will certainly consume your coverage and get ready for the season. I can't wait.
Sounds good. Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Jesse. Jesse Temple, Badger Connect. He's got a Badger Bite up again with Joe Bruner. You can go watch that, and you absolutely should. We can continue to talk about this in hour number 2. I think it's the biggest story of the day, at least as Wisconsin sports go, and it's a college football story, which I wouldn't say is my wheelhouse. I'd put that beneath baseball and the NFL and maybe even basketball, college basketball. But I think it's such an interesting story, and I think there are lots of angles between, what's been said on the record by Luke Fickell and his coaching staff in the past and how it's moving forward. So I'll take your calls on that and your text if you have anything to add. 608-321-1670. Otherwise, we can work into Packers commentary, some NFL storylines, as training camps are going to be firing up over the next week as well. But plenty of time to accommodate you. I would love to hear either on college football or the NFL or whatever. Wide open phone lines that won't make you wait. You can grab them. I can get you right on the other side of this. Update from Zach Kyle for 2 minutes. I'll get to you next at 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisconsin Sports Zone Update. Well, the All-Star break nearly over. Brewers are in Los Angeles. They're going to open up the second half of the season against the Dodgers tomorrow night. Milwaukee will do so, sitting in second place in the NL Central. 1 game back at the Cubs. Brewers actually won 7 straight into the break. Pat McAfee says they haven't really done anything yet.
We have a long way to go. We come back from the break. We have the mighty Dodgers. We go to Seattle. I think they're pretty close. And we go someplace else. We come back here, play another first place team, and then it just seems like nothing gets easier. So yeah, we just got to keep that edge.
Again, the Brewers will be in LA tomorrow night to start the second half of the season. Turning the Bucks, they made the signing of Cole Anthony officially yesterday. He averaged 9.3 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists per game last year for the Magic. Also announced the re-signing of Chris Livingston just 2 weeks after waiving him. A 1-year deal worth $2.3 million. He's been really good in summer league action, averaging nearly 21 points per game. Milwaukee will close out its summer league schedule tomorrow against the Heat out in Las Vegas.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareer.wi.org or just search online for ABC Wisconsin.
Tomorrow's reporting day for the Packers rookies up at training camp. They will be joined by the veterans on Tuesday. First practice of camp is on Wednesday. As for Wisconsin, they're still dealing with the news that they likely won't have quarterback Nyzier Fourqurean this season after appeals for an overturned injunction that would have allowed him a 6th season. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, print.
Hour number 3, the Bill Michaels Show, flying by today. And I'm enjoying the show. I got to say, I'm really appreciative, selfishly, that this Nyzier Fourqurean situation maybe didn't conclude yesterday. But I think it's concluded. I think we have a resolution. He has not been granted another year of eligibility, which is a big deal for that Badgers secondary. And again, what I'm going to continue to focus on, a departure from the messaging and the thought process that we've heard from Luke Fickell and his regime throughout the spring and throughout the summer. So that's what's catching my eyes and ears. Like, this is not something that, again, publicly, you'd think that Fickell and his staff were prepared for just based on their public messaging. Behind closed doors could be very different. But again, I'm just going off what was presented to us because that's all that we have. So if you have thoughts on that, I'll take your calls, 608-321-1670, and your texts as well. Aaron in Marshfield saying Nyzier could always walk on and try to claim number 23 for the green and gold. I suppose the problem for him is he can't go into the NFL without entering next year's draft. And the UFL isn't an option because they're a spring league, and that's now done and over with. So if he's not able to play college at some level, he basically has to train and then try to catch on in the NFL next spring. But by that point, a whole season will have passed. Like, do I want to draft or do I want to commit, undrafted free agent money to a guy who hasn't played football in a year? Like, that's tough. So he's up a creek, and I feel for the guy, but legally that is not grounds, at least in my opinion, in the opinion of 2 of the 3 judges on the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's not grounds for another year of eligibility. And that's been now borne out in a court of law. So that's on the table. We can also talk a little bit about baseball, if that's on your mind, but I think Packers training camp now, the week away, I think a lot of you would really appreciate some Packers talk. So we can do that as well. We were talking with Austin Harper, who did the first hour of the show with me, and I appreciate that after he did a couple hours with Ebo on Over the Line. And I asked him what he's looking forward to. And I think we both agree on something that I brought up yesterday. I don't know that we're going to be able to draw any big picture conclusions about the fortunes of this Packers team based on training camp or on the preseason. Because we've now seen Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur in this collection of players, this offense specifically, for 2 years, and we also watched Jeff Hafley's defense last year, and everyone says, well, they took a huge step. I again feel like, whether anyone cares or not, history has been revised a bit with Joe Barry in that the defense, from a results perspective, just watching the score on Sunday, again, I know I'm old-fashioned. I just look at the scoreboard sometimes to draw conclusions. It's not always DVOA or EPA or adjusted, FU or whatever the stats are. Like, I don't know that they took a major leap. I don't feel like the pass rush took a major leap. I don't know that Jeff Hafley unlocked certain players on the defensive front like maybe we hoped. Now, the linebackers were good, but they drafted Edgerrin Cooper. And they were better on the back end, but they went from starting Rudy Ford to Xavier McKinney. So again, I like Jeff Hafley a lot. And I have a lot of belief in that defense, but I think a big reason why, it's not just because of Jeff Hafley, it's that they drafted Edgerrin Cooper, signed Xavier McKinney, and now have signed Nate Hobbs, who in theory replaces Jair Alexander. And I know that sounds like a downgrade, but Jair never played. So ideally, assuming Nate Hobbs stays healthy, which we cannot assume, but let's say Nate Hobbs plays, 15 of the 17 games, that will be an upgrade, even if he plays at an average, replacement level. So I feel good about the defense, but it's not necessarily because of Jeff Hafley, although I do believe in him, and it seems like he knows what he's doing, and he seems like he's a good coach. People who talk about the Packers defense from the last year to Joe Barry to the first year of Jeff Hafley would lead you to believe that they went from like the worst defense ever seen on a football field to this elite unit. And, God bless America. We're just lucky to have Jeff Hafley here. It's amazing he wasn't signed as a head coach somewhere. And I like Jeff Hafley, but you got to look at the personnel changes from year to year. And again, Joe Barry's defense was good enough down the stretch in Jordan Love's first year. They held the Niners to a very respectable total. A Niners team that, by the way, went to the Super Bowl and almost won that year. Came back after trailing large against the Lions. Like, they held that team in check, and the Packers offense had a 1-possession lead and got the ball twice, late in the third quarter and early in the fourth, with a chance to build a bigger lead. They didn't. That's not on Joe Barry. So far be it from me to go back in time to defend Joe Barry. I just think people have revised history a little bit from the last year of Joe Barry to the first year of Jeff Hafley. But the larger point, to return to what I was saying before I went on this tangent, is I believe in this defense. Because I believe in Jeff Hafley, but also because they've added talent the last couple of years. Whether or not Lucas Van Ness takes a step or Kenny Clark shows that last year he was just limited by a toe injury, I believe in this defense. A certain baseline level of competence is expected. Put differently, they shouldn't suck. I'm pretty confident they won't suck. Offensively, I'm very confident they won't suck. I still really like Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks a lot. I think Romeo Doubs is quietly going to have an outstanding season. This team drafts, develops, and coaches O-lines just about as well as anyone in the league, and Jordan Love has shown that he is good enough. I think his floor is a 12, 14, 15th best quarterback in football. His ceiling could maybe be higher. I don't know if he will achieve it, but if you put the 12th best quarterback in football behind that O-line with Josh Jacobs and with that receiving core that they supplemented this year in the draft and an excellent tight end to boot, like, again, a certain level of competence, a certain baseline of competence. Put more bluntly, they shouldn't suck. I feel very confident that the defense will not suck. I feel very confident that the offense will not suck. Anything past that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what kind of large leaps and bounds the defense could make, especially in the pass rush in year 2 under Hafley. I'm not sure that there are leaps and bounds to be made by Jordan Love. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it one way or another. I don't know. Maybe Dontavian Wicks still can't catch the football. Maybe Jaden Reed remains a nice player, but not a great player. Maybe Romeo Doubs keeps getting concussions, right? Maybe the offense is very similar to last year. We're not going to be able to know that in training camp. We're not going to be able to know that in the preseason because I don't think most of these guys are going to play in the preseason. I know Dobbs won't. I know Reed won't. I know Jacobs won't. Tucker Kraft shouldn't. Now, Matthew Golden might a little bit, like maybe a half, maybe a quarter. He's not going to be racking up stats and racking up opportunities in the preseason. You kidding me? They draft a wide receiver in the first round for the first time in 20 years. They're going to throw him out there in a meaningless game to get hurt and to deal with a nagging injury the entire season. They're not going to do that. Maybe Savion Williams gets a little run, but, unless Savion Williams is, completely and totally on a higher level and a higher plane than expected, I don't think he's going to be the reason the offense goes from good to great this year. I think he, for the most part, just is an intriguing prospect that might contribute here and there, right? A smattering of catches or yards after the catch here, but that's about it. I don't think we're going to learn anything from training camp. We can watch individual performances, right? We can let's see how Matthew Golden and Jordan Love are working together. Let's see what Savion Williams looks like. But a lot of these practices are not hitting each other. They're in shorts, they're in shells and a helmet. We're just not going to be able to glean a whole lot. I think what we know about the Packers now will be known in a couple of weeks once training camp is done. Getting to watch Marshawn Lloyd in a preseason game will be fun. Getting to follow how they align the offensive line and what kind of opportunities and different alignments somebody like Jordan Morgan gets. Good. I remain intrigued by that and interested by that. But I don't think that's going to tell us big or small picture about the fortunes of this team into the season. Now, luckily, we don't have to wait very long into the season to get a true test. The Detroit Lions are coming to Lambeau week 1. And I know it's a regular season game. I know it's week 1. But I can't imagine a higher stakes, more important week 1 game than the Packers are hosting at Lambeau Field week 1 at 3:25. I can't imagine a bigger game. How could you create a game with more stakes and more on the line? The Packers have not beat the Detroit Lions at Lambeau since 2021. So that is correct. 2022, they lost both at Ford Field and at Lambeau. At Ford Field, that was the game where Aaron Rodgers attempted to throw a pass to a wide open David Bakhtiari on the goal line and underthrew it by 6 or 7 yards. He actually had 2 goal line interceptions. So they lost that game. And then they lost in week 18 with the playoffs on the line against a Lions team that had nothing to play for. The next year, Jordan Love beat him at Ford Field, but he lost to him at Lambeau on Thursday Night Football earlier in the year. And then last year, they went 0-2 against the Lions, both at home and at Ford Field. They've not beat the Lions at Lambeau since 2021. Now, I'm old enough to remember a long stretch of time where the Packers beat the Lions at Lambeau Field every year from like 91 to 2015 or something like that. It was a long ass time. And some of those games were started by Matt Flynn. It's not like all of those Packers teams were world beaters, but they always beat Detroit at home. That's something that's become, I wouldn't even say less of a certainty. It's become the opposite of a norm. They've lost to the Lions at Lambeau 2022, 2023, 2024. So not only is it something that you just need to do to get back to your winning ways at Lambeau, but this is also maybe the best opportunity of the year that you're going to have to win a divisional game at home. The Lions lost 2 starting O-linemen. They lost both of their coordinators. They're going to be in limbo a little bit. Not that Luke Fickell would like that. There'll be no limbo. Absolutely not. No. Dan Campbell will say the same thing. But you're catching that team early before they have a chance to maybe really work out some kinks in games. They'll be working out kinks, no doubt, in training camp and maybe a little bit in the preseason. But you will get the first shot at the Lions with new coordinators, new linemen. That's just a game you have to win. And let me further communicate. If the Packers lose that game, sometimes this is the best way to describe how big a win or a loss is. If the Packers win a game and you're saying that was a huge win, A good way to prove if it was a huge win or not is to consider the alternative. Consider if the Packers lose that week 1 game to the Lions. And there's no injuries. There's no funny business. Let's say the Packers lose 31-24 and the Lions look like they have looked the last 2 years and they've come into Lambeau completely and thoroughly a higher level team, more physical, executing on 4th down, better coached with a coach that gets his guys going. Like if that's the type of game we see week 1, I know the phone calls we're going to get on this show. I know what I'm going to hear from Packers fans. I know the comments I'm going to see on the live stream. Nothing has changed. Matt LaFleur still can't win the big one. Matt LaFleur is owned by Dan Campbell, right? We're going to hear all the same things that we were hearing. We're going to pick up this season right where we left off the last one. Can't beat the Vikings, can't beat the Lions, can't beat the Eagles. 1-6 in the division, and that one win was because of a blocked field goal, which I think is a little silly because the game they actually lost to the Bears, they absolutely had no business losing. Matt LaFleur turned his brain off and called the timeout for no reason. So I think the Packers were lucky to win the game that they won against the Bears. I also think that the Bears were very lucky to win the game that they won. So 1-1, I'll take the split, whatever. I think 1-5 in the division last year was the correct record for the Packers. But if they lose that week 1 game to the Lions, we're coming in here on Monday, we're turning on these microphones and we're taking your phone calls, and people are going to say the exact same thing that they were saying at the end of last year, which I would like to avoid. I would just like to avoid that. That's not interesting to me. That's not new. I like new material, new storylines, new takes. I don't want to redo last year. And we will redo last year, at least for 2 or 3 days, if the Packers lose week 1 at Lambeau. It'll feel like, oh, here we go again. Not to mention, if they lose week 1 to the Lions, they have to turn around and play the Commanders, who are everybody's darling from last year. Jaden Daniels, everyone's high on him. He's ending up, top 5, top 6, top 7 in certain quarterback rankings this offseason, fair or unfair. That's what people believe of him and that team. You now are staring down the barrel of a must-win game on Thursday night at home, or you start 0-2. And 0-2 is not a death knell in this upcoming season, but look at the rest of the schedule. You got to play the Ravens. You then would have to play the Vikings twice. You have to play teams like the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers on the road. You have to play Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like, this schedule is not last year's schedule. And you start 0-2? I don't know what their playoff odds would be at that point, but they wouldn't be great. They'd be less than 50%, probably. Long season, certainly things can change. I'm not going to call a season in the first week, but you'd really be putting yourself behind the 8 ball and giving yourself no breathing room for an injury or a bad luck game, nothing like that. You'd be like the Cincinnati Bengals were last year. You're constantly chasing, feeling like you're trying to set your feet in quicksand. And as soon as you take one step, you sink back and you fall backwards. You're just climbing. I don't want to spend the whole season climbing. That doesn't interest me. So that week 1 game against the Lions will be insanely important for 3 or 4 or 5 different reasons, not to mention that it then instantly goes to that Thursday night football game, which if week 1 against the Lions isn't a must win and the Packers lose, then that Thursday night game is the biggest week 2 game in recent Packers history. You just have to win. And that Commanders team, Jaden Daniels, what they showed last year, we'll see what they show in 2025. But I don't love being in that spot. I can't imagine many Packers players or coaches or certainly Packers fans feel the same as me. Your thoughts on the Packers? Looking forward to training camp. Looking forward to week 1 against the Detroit Lions. We can pick a little bit at the beginning part of that schedule and talk more about it. But I would love to hear from you on Packers training camp. Early season schedule, things that we're looking forward to, things of that nature. 608-321-1670. I'll get your texts and your comments on the live stream as well. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
For windows with the strongest resilience, you need the Pella Experience.
The biggest thing for us in the Experience Center was the collaboration with the team. We were able to come in over a bunch of different options, just us dictating what we wanted.
They asked us things we didn't even know or think about, from colors to hardware. And because of that, we were able to get the best possible look for our home.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Just like Jim and Haley, you too can see, feel, open, close, and compare dozens of window and door options from 7 different Pella lines, side by side, at our Pella Experience Center in Brookfield. And today is a great day to stop by because right now you can get 0% interest for up to 5 years. The Pella Experience Center is on Blue Mountain Road, kitty corner to delicious Pops. With a range of affordable options and products assembled in the USA, get the look you want at a price you can afford. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Server restrictions apply in 7/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Bill Michaels Show. I'll be honest with you guys. I know you probably don't care. I just can't believe this Coldplay story. I cannot believe it. And Twitter is doing an excellent job reacting. Lots of great tweets today. By the way, I'm on Twitter, @WiscoGrant. You want to contribute to the show in that way. Otherwise, love to take your calls on some early Packers training camp thoughts. I'm already looking to week 1 because I think this is the biggest week 1 game the Packers have had in some time. And I feel that way because if the Packers lose that game, I know what's going to happen. We're going to be right back to where we were last January, and that would suck. I would not enjoy that. I don't want to come in here with Bill and just say the same exact things and take the same exact calls that we were taking last year. Matt LaFleur can't win the big one. He can't beat Dan Campbell. He can't win in the division. It's like, oh. I mean, that might be true. I'm not saying this is not true. I'm not saying those would be bad takes. I'm saying I don't want to do the same song and dance 2 seasons in a row. That's not interesting. I want fresh material. 608-321-1670 to your phone calls. It's the Bill Michaels Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Clemhead Mike, and Chippewa.
I figured it might be you, Clemhead Mike. What's going on today?
Bad lead off.
Well, somebody's got to break the seal. I know you guys want to talk Badgers and Packers, but sometimes it just takes one phone call and then everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, the phone actually does work. I'll call in.
Yeah, I just want to agree with Bill's been saying this, and now you've been saying it about the week 1 game against Detroit. My theory is Dan Campbell, he coached in Miami for a while. He wasn't very successful. I think Dan Campbell's a great motivator. He's this really tough-nosed guy he'd run through a wall for. But I think his greatest strength was his GM, and then picking assistant coaches. I think him losing his coordinators, I think his coordinators did more of the work than we know. I think Dan Campbell, like I said, great motivator. I'm not sure he's a great coach.
And here's the thing. What makes a great coach? You know what I mean? You have all of these different areas. It's like any other walk of life. Like, people are good at some things and not good at others. If he's an unbelievable motivator and he hires great coaches, that's a pretty big part of coaching, even if he's not directly related to scheme. You know, like, I still think that would make him a great coach. It would just make him a very different type of coach. He has a different skill set. I will say, losing Ben Johnson, Clemhead, we saw this last year. Like, how many gotta have it fourth downs did they have where Ben Johnson had the perfect play? And I think that's where they're going to miss him most. I think most of the rest of the thing will continue as is. They have a strong culture. It's a couple fourth down play calls a game that can make or break a season.
Yeah, and I do agree with you completely that a markedly good coach is hiring good coordinators and stuff, but a lot of that's a GM too. I mean, not all of it, but quite a bit of that's GM too. So Dan Campbell's been blessed with some really good talent on that team, and we'll see what he does. Like I said, I agree with you about game one could be very decisive. Yeah, he's going to miss those guys, and I don't even know who he's replaced them with, if they're in the same league or not.
Well, I don't know. I think why it works so well with Ben Johnson is and I don't know anything about Ben Johnson. He seems to be more of the scheme lord, and both Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, and then Dan Campbell, the head coach, were loud, boisterous, and they play like that, right? Like, the Lions play loud and explosive and physical, and I think that's part of it. And I think they'll maintain that, and their defense is going to get healthy. I do wonder about the fourth downs. Like, do you know what a luxury it is, Clemhead, to be playing a one-possession game against a division opponent? It's 4th and goal from the 4, and we can go for it knowing perfectly well that Ben Johnson's going to have the perfect play, because we'll score 6 instead of 3. And if you do that 6 times throughout the year, you get extra wins that way. That's a huge deal to me.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wish there's many times I wish LaFleur would take on more of a head coaching job and drop the offensive coordinator a bit, because you've talked about it, I've talked about it, we've all talked about when he called that 4th down against Chicago last year. If he was overall overseeing the whole game instead of focusing on the offense, maybe he would have thought about it. He could think about the peripheral, like clock management and stuff like that, rather than trying to think so hard of the next play.
And this is something a lot of Packers fans have talked about. I appreciate it, Clemhead. You can call in as he did, 608-321-1670. I've heard this, and I can't remember if it was Rob Reichel talked about this, Bill, not too long ago. I think Matt LaFleur's greatest attribute as a coach is his scheme and is his play calling. I think that's the thing that he's best at. I don't think of him as Tomlin or Dan Campbell or other coaches who are, figurehead is minimizing their contributions, but kind of a CEO coach. I think that's a word that's been kind of normalized, and I think that's a label that's been normalized in sports talk. It's like you have coaches that are offensive scheme guys, defensive scheme guys, and then you have coaches that are like a CEO type. They do a little bit of everything. A leader of men, Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but the other big one would probably be Harbaugh, Campbell, Tomlin. I don't know that Matt LaFleur is like those guys. I think Matt LaFleur is a better leader and probably more of an alpha male than most Packers fans would give him credit for. I mean, most Packers fans talk about the guy like he's a shrinking violet. And I think if you were in that locker room with those men and standing in there, I think you would probably be surprised. And I don't know this to be true. I've never been in that locker room. I think you would probably be surprised at how boisterous and nasty at times Matt LaFleur can be. You just can't coach in the NFL without having some of that in your bag. So those of you that think Matt LaFleur is a stuttering, shrinking violet in those settings compared to Dan Campbell or Tomlin, booming voice, everyone listens. Like, I don't think that's true. But again, I think Matt LaFleur's greatest attribute is offensive play calling, scheme. That's why he's a head coach. And if he gives that up, I don't think he's that great of a head coach. I don't know that to be. Maybe he could be. I would bet that he loses a lot of utility and value as a head coach if he's not calling plays. So I'm kind of against that idea. I need him to be better this upcoming year than he was this last year at fourth down decision making and straight up like play calling and execution on fourth downs too. I thought they went for plenty of fourth downs last year. They were a little bit more conservative. Part of that in a couple games with Malik Willis, that was certainly part of it. But even with Jordan Love too, where he was a little bit more likely this last year than the first year with Jordan Love to go for it. You know, we saw a couple more punts in those fourth down situations or field goals. Like I need him to be a little bit more locked in on that stuff. And it's not particularly hard. It's not rocket science to go for it when you should, to kick field goals when you should, especially with Brandon McManus. The end of that Bears game is just so damning. I can't get it out of my head. How Rich Bisaccia, who is both your special teams coordinator and your assistant head coach on the sideline, you guys can't get on the same page during a 2-minute situation when everyone's focused on this. It's not like Rich Bisaccia is in the back talking with his long snapper, getting prepared, for the rest of the game in the second quarter. It's the fourth quarter. This is the drive to win the game. And you know it's going to come down to a field goal, most likely. It blows my skull wide open that Matt LaFleur and Rich Bisaccia were not on the same page in that moment. They weren't communicating clearly about Brandon McManus's range and how they wanted to then dictate their down and distance choices and their timeout usage, both of which were an absolute disaster in that moment. You're at home in a game that means nothing, and you botch it every single way you can. Again, it would be different if it's the second quarter and Bisaccia is off running a huddle somewhere. It'd be different if Bisaccia is up in the booth. It would be different if Bisaccia wasn't the assistant head coach. Like those two should be in each other's hip pockets in that situation, making it happen. Oh yeah, and Rich Bisaccia is a veteran. He's been a head coach before. He's been a coordinator. He's been around the block. Like if any combination in any situation should get it right, it's those two in that moment against the Bears. And they just made a mess of it. Like, that's what scares me about Matt LaFleur. He's shown plenty of times in his career so far that he's smart enough with the clock. He challenges a little bit like a madman. Whatever. I don't care that much about that. I care more about fourth down decisions, go versus kick, go versus punt, timeout usage at the end of halves, or when you're managing a special team situation or a 2-minute situation. Left a lot to be desired last year. That stuff should not be that hard. He should be able to call plays and scheme an offense while doing those things. He doesn't need to be intimately involved in what's going on the defense or on special teams. You have coordinators that have both been head coaches that are perfect for those roles. I need you to call the plays, scheme the offense, and you know what? Not make an absolute mess of situations like he did at the end of the Bears game. I cannot get that out of my head. I just can't. And you know what? During this break, we're going to pause. I'm going to dig up some audio from after that game because I want to hear his explanation from that. I don't remember what it is, and now that it's front of mind and I'm thinking about it and it's a concern, I want to go back and find it. So we'll do that. More of your texts and phone calls as we get ready for Packers camp. We're also going to be joined by Colton Bartholomew at the very end of this hour for another 15 minutes. So a little bit more on the Fourqurean situation. Spencer's reporting has been outstanding on this. This is definitely his wheelhouse, so I'm excited to have him in a little bit, but more Packers talk next in the meantime.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The open road is calling, and the ride begins at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee this July. Burn rubber on in the Fire Up Your Fantasy Motorcycle giveaway. Play with your rewards card all July for entry. Thursday drawings for extra cash and reward play. Fire Up Your Fantasy. Only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show, welcome back. Colton Bartholomew, the State Journal, Badger Extra, going to be here in about 10 minutes. Talk more about this Nyzier Fourqurean situation. Legal implications in college football, everyone's favorite topic. And I don't know that Colton enjoys it more than the average reporter. I think most folks like Zach and Jesse, and they want to talk about ball. I don't know that Colton likes these legal stories any more than those two, but he is excellent at covering them and digging up facts for us. So we're going to get to that here in about 8 minutes. Before we took that break, I found myself retroactively getting mad about that week 17 or week 18 Bears game at home, just because they shouldn't have lost. And it still drives me up a wall that Matt LaFleur took a timeout in that spot. So I went back and I got a little audio of his explanation, because Clem had Mike said, well, what if Matt LaFleur gave up play calling duties just to focus on the rest of the game? And I said, he should be able to do both. I'm not asking him to call the defense and call the special teams. I'm asking him to scheme an offense, call plays, and then not be boneheaded with timeouts and go versus kick or go versus punt situations. And that week 18 moment against the Bears, where he just randomly took a timeout. He left 60 seconds on the clock for the Bears to go down and win, which is exactly what they did. Here's his explanation. I went back and find it. Thank you again to Mike Clemens.
And then at the end of the game, that's squarely on me.
Yeah.
Just got caught in a situation where we were planning on going for it. And they felt like Brandon could make that field goal. And hindsight's 2020. I wish I wouldn't have taken the timeout because it gave him obviously way too much time.
So that beginning part one more time. Well, I thought we were going to go for it, and then they thought Brandon could make it, which I assume he's talking about Rich Bisaccia. That one more time.
Got caught in a situation where we were planning on going for it, and they felt like Brandon could make that field goal. And hindsight's 2020. I wish I wouldn't have taken the timeout.
They thought Brandon could make the field goal. Now I'm no coach of special teams or offense. Never played a snap of competitive football in my life. But I would just like to suggest, if I may be so bold as to make a suggestion, maybe have that discussion about Brandon McManus's range. I'm not going to yell. Maybe have that discussion before the drive starts. Just an idea. Again, I'm just spitballing. I'm not a coach, so don't listen to me. I'm just throwing out ideas. Maybe before the drive starts, take 10 seconds. Say, hey, Rich, what do you think his range is? And it's his job to have that answer. And then you go on that answer. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what I don't want to hear is what I'm hearing. Well, I thought we were going to go for it, but then they thought that McManus could make it. It's like, this is a discussion that takes place before the drive starts. I guess that's just what I would like to add or suggest into this scenario.
They felt like Brandon could make that field goal, and hindsight's 2020. I wish I wouldn't have taken the timeout.
Didn't need to be
him
hindsight.
Obviously, way too much time
to talked about it beforehand.
To go down and operate. So, like I told the team, I mean that's on me. That can't happen.
Correct.
So it's just we got to wipe this as soon as possible. Like it's a new season now. It's everybody's 0-0. We knew we were going to have to go on the road, so we're going to have to go on the road to Philly, and we'll figure out what day we play, and we'll have a plan in place. But obviously, very disappointed right now.
It's just so frustrating. Why am I still annoyed by this game? I'm more annoyed at this game than I am at the Eagles game. Honestly, it was just like it's the meme of the guy who takes the pole and sticks it in his own bike spokes. That's what that timeout was. I think this follow-up was from Mike Heller, if I recognize the voice, a fellow radio man. So I always have to tip my cap when the radio guys get in the press conference and mix it up. But he's like, well, couldn't you taken the timeout on third down and left your options a little bit more open? I believe that was the next question.
Yeah, you could have. I mean, we thought we had something going, with some of the no huddle stuff, just pounding the ball in there. They were in 3-week. We didn't get the Z to motion across. So
okay, again, not a coach. Anytime I hear a coach start resorting to saying, "Well, we wanted the Z and they were in 3 empty," it's like you know what? I don't care. I don't care. Don't murky this answer up with this is the football equivalent of a lawyer burying someone in paperwork so they don't know where to begin. Don't give me this. And I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's excellent. But he is now tenured longer than only a few NFL head coaches. Shanahan, Tomlin, Harbaugh. Who else? Andy Reid. And I'm blanking. There's probably one or two more. McVay. That's about it. Like, he's a veteran coach. It doesn't feel like it because he's young and vibrant. And we never think that much time has passed when actually it has passed. He's been here since 2018. And here, this will be his 7th season. Like, he shouldn't be making those mistakes. And in some of these answers, I'm hearing like, well, we thought to do that, but then it's like, well, then why didn't you stick with that?
Yeah, you could have. I mean, we thought we had something going, with some of the no huddle stuff.
Oh, you thought you had something going, then go with it. Then why are you then do it?
Just pounding the ball in there. They were in 3-week. We didn't get the Z to motion across, so we were kind of out leveraged there, and then we lost yardage. So wasn't anticipating that, but that was the circumstance, and that's why I called the timeout, because we went backwards, because I was planning on going for it right there.
Well, anytime you can exacerbate one problem with another. We got time to take a real quick phone call before we get to Colton Bartholomew here, so this will be perfect. 608-321-1670. It's the Bill Michaels Show. Who's this?
This is Bill.
Doug?
Bill.
Bill. Where are you calling from, Bill? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
From Madison.
Madison. All right. What's up, Bill? What are you thinking?
I will tell you with Matt LaFleur, I'm going to just back when I coached my kids in Little League baseball and summer baseball for high school and stuff, it's like that one kid, and this is Matt LaFleur, he has like one really good game every 10 games, but then he lays an egg. And he's like that one kid who every once in a while would just have an unbelievable game, and his mom would be like, oh my God, he should be doing this all the time. You should have him here all the time. You see what he can do?
Yep.
Well, he doesn't do it consistently, and the kids that do it consistently got there. And Matt LaFleur's like that. He's had some really good games, and he's had some really crappy games.
Yeah. And I just think, like, in NFL head coaching, I appreciate it, Bill. Thank you for listening. You get 2 or 3 moments maybe over the course of every game where these decisions matter. I think a lot of play calling decisions are sometimes overrated because I think it's just as much on the players to execute the play as it is the coach calling the play. So if a play doesn't work, wow, horrible play call. Well, I don't know. Was it? Go back and look at the film. Like, was it the right call against the right look? And a guy missed a block or the wide receiver didn't get his head around. Like, it's not always play calling. You have 2 or 3 times a game going into half, 2-minute, kick or go situations in the red zone. And it just felt like last year, Matt LaFleur had a really crappy year. That doesn't mean he's a crappy coach. I just thought that whether it was bad luck or systemic bad decision-making last year, for whatever reason, he missed in these moments more often than he won. And I just keep going back to the end of that Bears game. It's like that loses you playoff games. Stuff like that loses you playoff games. And God knows the Packers have already had plenty of experience doing that. I don't need more of that. I don't need more evidence as to why this team is going to come up short in the playoffs. Colton Bartholomew, the State Journal Badger Extra, going to join us next to dig further into this Nyzier Fourqurean situation, which I am personally fascinated by. I'm sorry if it's not doing it for you. I think this is about as good of a story as you can expect during the All-Star break. So we'll continue to hit it with Colton next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Nazir's kind of in a tough position where he's.
Why is that?
Well, he's got that hearing in May later.
He's playing.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know why would there be any tough situation.
He could be. Ruled.
No, he's not. I mean, no, he's not going to be. So I don't know why it would cause him any limbo.
Once again, earlier this spring, Colton Bartholomew asking Luke Fickell what is a pretty reasonable question, you know. Nyzier Fourqurean legally, literally in limbo, waiting on a decision, you know, and asking for thoughts on that. Luke Fickell didn't want to talk about it. Now, publicly was very confident he'll be playing, don't want to discuss it. What I want to know, and my biggest question now, well, what was he thinking privately? Were they preparing for this behind closed doors while projecting an outer image of confidence? That's what I hope, because now that I've learned more about this case that Nyzier Fourqurean and his camp was making, it seems a little shaky. The man asking the question, Colton Bartholomew, is here. Colton, do you think behind closed doors they were a little bit more open and prepared for this situation than maybe they were leading publicly on, like with that question and answer from earlier this spring with you?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've always kind of had it in their head, like, what are we going to do if this breaks the way that we don't want it to, with Nyzier not being eligible? There is still a minute chance that Fourqurean and his camp can get back into the court at the district level here in Wisconsin with a new argument and try to get another injunction. It's just going to be tough timing-wise to get that all done before the first game of the season. And then what's going to happen, I think, is if they do go that route, Wisconsin's going to have a tough thing on their hands where it's like, well, do we risk playing a guy in Nyzier where, we're waiting for an injunction or waiting for it, or maybe to see an appeal on an injunction? Do you risk playing a guy who eventually could become ineligible, and then those wins have to get vacated? I doubt that's a route that they want to travel down. So I think they're going to run into a tough situation timing-wise if Nyzier is able to go back into the courts and try to fight this again.
Do you think was it the 6th or the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals? Which one was it? Not that it really
7th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the one in Chicago.
Do you think the 7th made the right decision based on the case that was being presented?
Yeah, it was interesting because it was a 2-1 decision. So obviously there was at least one judge that was going to side with Fourqurean and say, no, let's let him play, because basically that judge's argument was these eligibility rules do actually kind of limit the opportunities for a certain group of people, which is upperclassmen or people that are going for, whatever year you want to go past 4 of playing. But in his dissent opinion, he also said, but there wasn't enough evidence brought by Fourqurean's attorneys and his camp to really make a judgment solely based on that. So the rest of his dissent was kind of about that overarching idea that these rules are anti-competitive and are, going in the face of the Sherman Act, which is the big thing that is, wrapping up all this stuff in college sports right now with the rev share and Title IX and NIL. It's like, how do you combine all of that with not being employees but not being, antitrust? So that's all on the one side. Basically, what the dissenting judge said, though, was like, I think I would probably rule for Nyzier, and I'm going to, but there wasn't enough brought to our court's attention to go all the way with it. And I think that's something that's going to be interesting, is if Fourqurean and his camp decide to go forward and try again, how much they lean into this idea of, upperclassmen as a class of people, or that 5th, 6th year senior as a class of people that are being, affected by this, as opposed to just Nyzier Fourqurean, because they went the just Nyzier Fourqurean route, and as we've seen, it wasn't successful.
So is their case that I played at Division II one year, and that was an opportunity that I didn't have to get the revenue sharing money, the NIL money, and some of these upperclassmen, they came along at a time where earlier on in their careers they weren't able to achieve those earnings because it wasn't set up that way when they first began their careers. Is that their argument now, that they should be given extra time to make up for that lost time that they didn't have earlier? Is that the case?
A little bit. I think part of the case, which I don't think that Fourqurean's camp went into as hard as they could have, was the fact that the rules changed in Division II, that once you played one game in Division II, back when Nyzier was there, once you played one game, you burned your eligibility that year. And Matt Mitchell, who's now an assistant at Wisconsin, but was Fourqurean's coach at Grand Valley State, he said, yeah, like, we had some injuries and I needed to throw him in on special teams to give guys breathers. But because I had already played him and his year was gone, I just kept playing him. I wouldn't have, because the overarching thing of the case was Nyzier Fourqurean's father passed away before that 2021 season. He wrote in letters to the court, and he had teammates and friends and coaches write letters to the court saying he wasn't himself. He was going through a mental hardship, and that was basically the argument was the NCAA waiver should have allowed him to get a hardship for that year, and that's the biggest part they were going for. The secondary piece was it's anti-competitive to not allow him to play because he's got a lot of money coming to him this season. So I think that they would have to try to lean more into the NCAA changed the rules and didn't give guys that were in Division II at that time kind of grandfathered in rights to continue to play or use a redshirt year that they probably should have, and they have in other cases where the rules change and are grandfathering people in. So it is kind of an interesting dichotomy of where this case could go and if it goes anywhere, because this is anytime you involve lawyers and you're talking about multiple levels of courts and appeals and everything, it's a lot of expense. And I know Fourqurean is a guy that's going to make quite a bit of money in rev share and NIL if he can play this year, because he's a guy that they're going to lean on to play a lion's share of the snaps. But now, if you're Wisconsin, how long can you, basically have that rev share money that you're intending to give the Fourqurean set aside to help him with the legal fees and stuff, versus when do you have to kind of pull the cord and say, we've got to focus on the guys that are actually going to be able to play and distribute that money elsewhere.
So just so I'm understanding, the rules of Division II have since changed to better protect future eligibility for players in the situation that Fourqurean was in?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So right now in
That makes
Division
sense.
2, you can play up to 3 games. So in Division 1, it's 4 games and you keep your red shirt. In Division 2, it's 3.
Well, he played 11, and their argument was, 11 games, but not a lot of snaps, right?
Exactly. And, they broke it down. It was basically 3 or 4 games worth of snaps. But like I said, Matt Mitchell wrote in his letter, I only played him because he had burned the rule or burned his eligibility in those current rules or at the time rules. The current rules, he would have still kept his red shirt, and I would have, utilized that and kept him off the field. And like I said, I think there was just kind of a miscommunication or a kind of a misread by Fourqurean's lawyers in terms of which argument to lean into that's going to have the most success. I think they threw kind of a shotgun approach at it. It's like, here are a bunch of reasons why, pick your favorite to the courts. And then that doesn't really work for judges. They need here's what we're going for and here's why. And I think that's why Nyzier's in the situation he is right now.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. Colton Bartholomew is here, State Journal Badger Extra. He's the best with this type of stuff. I'm just curious, because anytime I talk to Zach and Jesse about this, they're like, I don't want to do the Xavier. Are you more interested in the legal side or issues like this and digging into it? Is this more of an interest to you, or do you just good at it and you're cursed to carry this torch for the Badgers beat? Which one is it?
Probably more of the second one. I mean,
Okay.
I like legal stuff from a general sense. It's hard to read these court cases and the briefs and the decisions because it's all, cited with all the, precedent that they're going with and everything. So it's hard to really dig through there. But when you kind of figure out how to read it and then what you can kind of skim over, you find the nuggets that are important. But that's what I'm trying to do to give to readers is boil down this 20-page decision into the 2 paragraphs that tell you why the court made the decision they did. So I like that aspect and that challenge of it, but yeah, I'm not sitting here acting like I should have a JD or anything.
Lastly, on that secondary,
if anyone wants to give me one, I'm in though.
Well, right, yeah,
Give me an
exactly.
honorary JD, I'm in.
Exactly. So in that secondary, thank God Ricardo Hallman is back, and I talked about this with Jesse last hour. Are they going to be able to cobble things together? They already lost Xavier Lucas. I'm sure this is not a place that they'd prefer to be in, but they got that transfer from Miami who should help, but how are they going to make it work on the back end in Fourqurean's absence, assuming that this doesn't change?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I think Deani Hill and then maybe Gamir Latimer could be options there. They're both guys that played on the outside at their previous schools. There's always an option too. Austin Brown is a guy who has played in their nickel spot, spent all spring playing safety, and I know that the coaches were really excited about him at safety and what he could be. They could move him back to nickel to give them a few more options, I would say, on the outside at corner because they have a pretty deep safety room with a couple of transfers they brought in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think that's going to be really one of the most fascinating things of camp is how they kind of distribute some of those reps because, like I said, they were expecting Nyzier Fourqurean to be a 85-90% snap guy and then mixed in some of those other guys.
Yeah.
And those could be the future option, especially after Xavier Lucas left. I think that there's nobody I've gotten a couple of questions on Twitter about this, so I want to say it for you. Like, no, there's no transfer option at this point. If you're looking at guys cycle, or you're talking about guys that are on other teams, would have cut list if the 105 roster limit was instituted for this season. So those are really the only guys that are available. Maybe they go try to find an underclassman to just fill that one spot, but I think there are other positions on the team that they go for. Emilio Agard's always been the name that's been thrown out there, but I think they really like him as the spell for Ricardo Hallman on the other side, and I think that's the spot that they see him in, that field corner. So I think it is going to come down to Hill and Latimer, maybe splitting some of those roles, and then cobbling together nickel as much as they can, and maybe matching that up a little bit more in terms of who's out there and what body type they can get away with in that spot.
Well, and we'll learn more at fall camp. I got literally 30 seconds. Are your Red Sox back? Are they back officially?
Oh, so back. Last time we talked about the Sox, I was about to, give up and then throw the hat in the ring.
Correct.
But now it's all here. The starting pitchers finally showed up beside Garrett Crochet, and then the offense started hitting. So kind of a wonder what 4 or 5 runs a game will do for you.
Yeah, well, it's amazing what a little offense and Brian Bayo looking confident will do. Well, I appreciate it. We'll look forward to your coverage from Big Ten Media Days next week. Thank you, Colton.
Thanks, Grant.
Colton Bartholomew, the State Journal, Badger Extra, his coverage, especially on this stuff. I mean, we're pretty lucky in the state of Wisconsin. I say this a lot. I think the Brewers beat is great. The Packers beat is excellent. The Badgers have not just a bunch of great reporters and journalists, but guys who excel at different things. And Colton, I think on some level is cursed to be good at stuff like this. So it's up to him to carry the torch. His Red Sox have to have him feeling better, though. Like all of a sudden, Cedon Rafael is like a fringe MVP candidate. Oh, okay. So, well, if that's going to happen and Brian Bayo doesn't go away, might be great. And we can stop trying to acquire Jaron Duran. Alex Breck. I might try. They want 10 for Alex Breck. Even I can't force that thing. We'll force TJ Water, Trey Henderson. We'll do that. Final hour of the Bill Michaels Show. Coming up next, but first, a 2-minute update from Zach Halpern. No commercials, just what's going on in Wisconsin sports. No reason to do this. Bill Michaels Show, last hour. Show actually has gone pretty darn fast, considering not a ton is going on this week. It's the All-Star break. Just gives us opportunities to be a little bit more free-flowing little bit more creative and free with the things that we discuss. I do want to get back a little bit into week 1 Packers talk. We're looking forward to that Lions game, and I think it's one of the biggest week 1 games in recent memory, maybe in a long time. I don't know. I haven't looked back through the schedules, but that week 1 game hosting Detroit is about as big as it gets. So that's on the board. We can discuss. We can talk Brewers second half. They have the Dodgers this weekend. That's certainly on the board. We can have a little fun with the ESPYs last night too. Now, I did not watch the ESPYs. I watched Shane Gillis's monologue, and Austin and I had a little bit of fun with that. At the very beginning of the show. I did like some of these jokes. Which ones are my favorite here? I'm just picking through this one. I thought this is very good topical commentary and humor on Caitlin Clark for sure.
When Caitlin Clark retires from the WNBA, she's going to work at a Waffle House so she can continue doing what she loves most, fist fighting black women.
Which, to be fair to Caitlin Clark, it's seemingly more of an everybody else thing. They seem intent on fighting her. But then again, sometimes that happens when you step into a Waffle House, especially when then the cooks get involved. It's almost part of the job description. I did like this on Karl Anthony Towns being the zesty NBA star that he is that's what they say to avoid saying the other word.
The New York Knicks had a great season. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns is here. Hey, girl.
You can tell he's like a little bit uncomfortable, which I find endearing. I thought this was sneaky underrated, maybe the best joke of the night. It's stupid and I laughed.
Megan Rapinoe could not make it tonight. Nice.
Nice.
No, we're going to pretend she's a good time. All right.
Like that is excellent. That is good humor. The stupidest joke, no doubt, of the opening monologue. A little bit on Bill Belichick. I don't like the old man, dare I say, ED jokes. I don't find them to be particularly funny, but he's got a good little bit on it.
A bookie is what Bill Belichick reads to his girlfriend before bedtime. They do. They read The Very Horny Caterpillar, The Little Engine That Could But Needed a Pill First, and of course, the classic Goodnight Boobs.
That's so stupid.
That's my favorite one.
That's so stupid.
Also, I'm not trashing Bill Belichick. First off, he's 73 years old and he's dating a hot 24-year-old, and people are criticizing him. What happened to this country?
This is a good point.
We used to be a great country. He won 6 Super Bowls.
I don't think people so much are ripping him for dating a 24-year-old. I think if the 24-year-old wasn't a little bit of a PR liability for him, people would feel differently. This is very simple on SGA. I thought this was good.
SGA is here. Give it up for SGA. Hell yeah, bro. And now everybody sitting around him is in foul trouble.
That is quite good. I do think Shane Gillis has a very funny Trump. I think his Trump impression, unlike most, kind of actually gets at the funniest part of Trump. Like, I don't need Alec Baldwin. And I think Alec Baldwin is hilarious. I don't like his Trump impersonation. It's like, we don't need this. Not everyone needs to do a Trump. I think Shane Gillis does a very good job.
Also, can we stop pretending Donald Trump knows ball? It's like a weird thing where they're like, man, he loves sport. He doesn't know anything about sports. Every time a team comes and visits the White House, he's like, and you must be the guy who catches. It's like, look at these guys, big guys, black guys. And that's just when the New York Liberty visited.
That is excellent.
They didn't visit. That's just a joke.
They didn't. I don't remember them visiting after their title. I thought the tribute to Norm Macdonald was excellent at the end. I thought that was very nice. That brought a tear to my
Travis
eye.
Hunter won the Heisman Trophy this year. He's the first defensive player since Charles Woodson to win the Heisman. Congratulations, Travis Hunter, winning the Heisman. That's something they can never take away from you, unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case they can take that away from you.
I wonder how many people there were familiar with the Norm joke, because what was that? Norm hosted, was that 99 when he hosted? I wonder how many athletes are actually were familiar with the bit.
There's Charles Woodson. How about that? What a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case, all bets
All bets are off, which is the perfect phrasing of that. I think as I've listened to this now a couple times today, my favorite part of this joke is actually the inflection on. Well, and here's Charles Woodson.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that?
I love Norm so much. And not necessarily his stand-up. I actually think Shane Gillis and Norm Macdonald are similar in, like, sometimes their stand-up is good, but it's not good in the same way that, like, traditional stand-ups are. I think of, like Louis C.K. I know he's problematic. The dude is still, I think, funnier than just about anybody when doing stand-up. I think Norm's had, like, funny bits while doing stand-up, and I think he occasionally has good jokes. I enjoy Norm, like, his live show was hilarious when he did it with his trusty sidekick, Adam Egget. Like, that's the format that I enjoy him a little bit more. As a late night guest, I don't know that I've ever enjoyed anyone more as a late night guest than Norm, mostly because I don't care about most late night. Oh, did you see Gal Gadot on Fallon last night? She killed. Like, what would that even mean? What would that even entail? I don't know. But I think Norm was, like, funniest in all of these mixed environments. And I kind of feel the same of Shane Gillis. Like, his stand-up every once in a while hits. Like that endearing bit of, well, you didn't like that one, like very self-aware, very self-deprecating, like very aware that I'm up here doing a routine and that I'm here to play the room. I also think the ESPYs, much like the Oscars or the Golden Globes or any of these other award events, like, that's a tough room. They're not liquored up. They're not there to see a comic. You go to a comedy club, you see an opener, you see then a second opener, usually if the act is big, and then you get the headliner. And by this point, like, we've all had a couple of drinks and we're into the thing. We're there for that thing. These people are there to peacock at the red carpet, and then they're like, okay, now we got to sit through this thing, I guess. We can't just Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani it, show up for the photo op and, you know, for the drinks and the food and then dip. We got to sit through this thing. And I guess then Shane Gillis is the presenter. All right, we'll watch. I thought this bit was excellent and very creative to boot.
Four-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody. I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players. That's crazy. You clap for that.
That is funny. I do like when the comics can catch the crowd in one way or another. So the ESPYs last night, and as I talked about with Austin Harper earlier on in the show, no clue what awards were given out. I have no idea. I have no semblance of an idea of what kind of awards are given out at the ESPYs. I suppose I could Google it. ESPY Award winners 2025. Let's learn about this in real time, I suppose. So male athlete goes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Team. It just says team. Best team, Philadelphia Eagles. Best female athlete, Simone Biles. I will be honest, the breakthrough athlete is someone I'm not familiar with. A rugby player. Ilona Maher. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. I do not know rugby very well. I will put my hand up and I will explain my ignorance on that. That's fine. I don't know who that is.
That's crazy. You clap for that.
Yeah, I would, but I wouldn't know who it is. It's a problem. Record-breaking performance, Alexander Ovechkin. All-time goals. That was very cool. The Jimmy V Award goes to Katie Shoemaker-Cawley. What's her deal? Okay. Head coach at Penn State. The Perseverance Award, not to be insensitive, she has short hair in this picture. I assume that, yes, it seems she is a cancer survivor. Sorry, I didn't watch, but she's coaching her team while persevering through that. I'm reading headlines. Okay, that would make sense. The Driver Award, Max Verstappen, F1 guy. All right. NFL player, Saquon Barkley, makes sense. Male college athlete, Cooper Flagg. Comeback athlete, Suni Lee. I will be 100% honest. I'm not aware what she came back from, but I'm sure it was something impressive. Female college athlete, Juju Watkins, which makes sense. And soccer player, yeah, let's give one to a soccer player, Christian Pulisic, I guess. Okay, so those are your ESPY winners last night. Oh, and it keeps going. Okay, I can scroll. Best play, Saquon Barkley. Championship performance, Simone Biles. The Courage Award, Oscar Robertson. Icon Awards to both Alex Morgan and Diana Taurasi. The Boxer Award, Katie Taylor. The NBA, but why do we do NBA? Just the MVPs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Let's see. MMA, I don't really know. MLB, Shohei. NHL player, Leon Draisaitl. Interesting. Coco Gauff for tennis. Scotty Scheffler for golf. I mean, it's just like, who's the best at everything, and we'll give them awards. That seems to be the deal with the ESPYs. All right. Interesting. Best team. Badgers women's hockey wasn't even nominated, Marv says on the live stream. How dare they? I mean, where hockey, was that on the board? Was it just professional teams? I don't know. Again, I don't watch the ESPYs. I just pay attention to the monologue because oftentimes it is very funny. Or it's not funny, and then we can talk about how it's not funny, but I'm more likely than most to extend grace to stand-ups, especially playing to that type of room, just because it's got to be hard.
I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players.
That is funny. That is pretty darn good. What is the name you use? Brittany Hicks? That does sound like a WNBA name.
Four-time.
Which, by the way, I don't know what that means, but I would buy into that. I would have clapped for that. Are you kidding me?
Four-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody.
Give it up for Brittany. Yeah, hell yeah. I still think, I watched it one more time this morning. I still think my favorite joke is the Megan Rapinoe joke. That's just, it's so stupid and simple that it's too funny.
Megan Rapinoe could not make it tonight. Nice.
I don't know why that's so funny.
No, we're going to pretend she's a good time. All right.
We're going to pretend that she's a good time. So that was last night. The ESPYs. We've been picking at that a little bit. Austin and I also had some fun with what happened at the Coldplay concert at Gillette last night. I can't imagine going to a Coldplay concert and then being caught for dancing with a woman who's not my wife on the big screen. Like, that night did not go how that man and that woman thought it was going to go. Turns out the man's a CEO at a massive company, and the woman's like the head of HR or something. A work wife, if you will. This is a concept that's joked about often on the internet. Lots of bits. Drewski had a good bit on this, who was at the ESPYs last night, got called out by Shane Gillis specifically. I can't imagine going to a Coldplay concert and ending up in that situation. And by the way, I did not bring this up in the first hour when Austin and I kicked around this story. For all of you people on the internet, and I will say you people, because in this instance, I'm perfectly comfortable talking down to you. I've been banging this drum a couple different ways this summer, but I think it's important. You people, well, the most embarrassing part of this for him is that he's at a Coldplay concert. As if Coldplay rules. They're not like my favorite band in the world, but I found that way too often in 2025, and I blame Anthony Fantano and others, way too often we have to express our musical tastes as a vehicle to show how smart we are and to show how cultured we are. Look at how smart and cultured I am. I don't listen to Coldplay. I don't listen to Morgan Wallen because I'm better than you. No, you're just a dick. Like, listen to what you want. Last time I checked, and maybe, again, I could be wrong. I always leave space. I could be wrong. Last I checked, we listen to music because we listen to music because we want to get enjoyment from it. If you like it, who cares if it's farting noises? Listen to it. And don't look down. It's like food. Don't speak ill of what I'm eating. Oh, you're eating an oyster? That's disgusting. I don't know, man. I'm enjoying it. Nobody asked you. Shut up. You normally see this dynamic come out when country music is discussed. Well, I would never listen to Morgan Wallen. I listen to real country music. And it's only real country music can only be made by people from Oklahoma and or Appalachia. And their dads had to have been coal miners. It's like, no, you know what? I kind of like pop country too. I was talking about this with a friend this morning. You know what? New country music, all they sing about is tailgates and beer and summer nights. It's like, well, okay, so sue me, but you know what I kind of enjoy? I enjoy a cold beer. I enjoy a summer night. I enjoy a truck with the window rolled down and a tailgate that I could sit on if I want to. Like, sue me if I like those things. Oh, new country's the worst. They only sing songs about like the greatest things in the world. Yeah, I guess it's the worst then. To really climb up on your high. I would prefer you climb down off your high horse. Coldplay is good. And if I didn't have plans this weekend, I would definitely be going to Camp Randall this weekend. I'm being called out by Jonathan, I believe, on the live stream for being too young. And I don't know specifically, he's referencing Wolfman Jack. I'm very aware of Wolfman Jack. He was a radio DJ. And the Guess Who have an excellent song about him called Clap for the Wolfman. Don't be calling me out over there. I host radio in 2025. You think I'm not an old soul? I'm working in radio in the year 2025. I'm 27 and I'm like, yeah, this is the industry. I'm going to tie my cart to this horse. Oh, you're too young. Yeah. Shove it. Marv says, if you're going to do somebody in your office, do the HR person. She can't turn you into HR for harassment. It is a strategic play. And I can't imagine they went to this concert thinking, well, we can't end up on the Jumbotron. You just got to be careful. And by the way, when they did end up on the Jumbotron, can you have a little bit more of a poker face? Just don't act like you're cheating on each other. Hide your face, jump down. No poker face at all from those two. Very tough look, and that's on them. Those are some of the current events of the day. We can get back to the Packers and the Brewers. Let's take a 3-minute break. And to your calls as well. Wide open phone lines, so I won't make you wait, I promise. 608-321-1670. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Network.
For windows with the strongest resilience, you need the Pella Experience.
The biggest thing for us in the Experience Center was a collaboration with the team. We were able to come in and sit down and go over a bunch of different options, and it wasn't just us dictating what we wanted.
They asked us things we didn't even know or think about, from colors to hardware, and because of that, we were able to get the best possible look for our home.
Hi, I'm Gina Della from Pella. Just like Jim and Haley, you too can see, feel, open, close, and compare dozens of window and door options from 7 different Pella lines, side by side, at our Pella Experience Center in Brookfield. And today is a great day to stop by because right now you can get 0% interest for up to 5 years. The Pella Experience Center is on Blue Mountain Road, kitty corner to delicious cups. With a range of affordable options and products assembled in the USA, get the look you want at a price you can afford. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply in December 31, 2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show, welcome back. Appreciate you listening. We're starting to barrel towards the finish line at 2 o'clock, but still plenty of time. Towards the end of the show, because I want to talk Packers here for a segment or two at least, but at the very end, I'll give you the latest from Ken Rosenthal. He has one of those classics, what I'm hearing, which, I mean, you could pass some of that stuff off as rumors, but I'm old enough to remember when one of those what am I hearing things was, I believe Josh Hader may be traded. And I said, like they'd be that. David Stearns, you think he'd be that stupid? So yeah, we'll get to the end. They did exactly that. 608-321-1670. Tim is in Arizona. Tim, it's been too long. What's going on?
Well, I'm not big of a baseball fan, so that's backed off since April. So, but I'll be getting back to it. And you're one of my best guys to talk to before you lead me into Bill. I saw two stories yesterday, and I'm glad. It's like what you just started with, what I'm hearing on YouTube. And the first story was the Shamar Stewart with the Bengals thing. He isn't signed. And they said, they asked the question during the video of, would you give up a number one in 2026 for him? And my answer to that is, hell yes.
Yeah.
Question, then the second story, and we didn't get him yet, did we?
No.
Okay. The second story I saw was the thing with the Steelers and us getting T.J. Watt. And didn't say what for. So that was my first two questions as far as whom, if we get them, then I got to revise my prediction of a 7-win, 10-loss season. But then other than that, my other question for you, Brett, Grant, is when do they start the training camp?
Next Wednesday? Let me check. Packers training camp. Let me make sure. It starts the practice. It kicks off. Well, players, I think some players are going to start arriving, but the first training camp kicks off Wednesday, the first of 3 consecutive public practices, through the 24th of the 25th. So the shareholder meeting will be Friday after practice, but it'll start next Wednesday.
Yeah, because that's why I'll start listening again, and just the idea that I like going to your show because you guys get the big guests on and they know exactly what's going on.
Well, and we'll have Mike Clemens. Tim, don't we just pray all summer and hope and pray and wait for the return of Mike Clemens appearances? Let's be real.
I like him. You know what? If I knew where he lived, I would like to get him like a small fedora with a little paper thing on the left side of his ear in the band that said press. Because he's the guy that really likes to get down in the dirt and the filth, and he'll get everything for you. And that's why I've always liked him. And even when you're on your show, when you guys got Paul Emick, Paul does a great job with Paul. You and Bart Winkler. Mm-hmm. So I listen to you guys all the time. You're my number one guys. And wow, I tell you, this is my 66th season. I'm going to be 74 in December, but it's just the idea that I'd like to see at least one more Super Bowl before I pass away. So other than that, you have a good one. Have a good one there, Brett. And we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Hell yeah,
Bye-bye.
Tim. We'll be back into the swing of Packers things. I appreciate the call. So the most interesting part of that call to me is Tim, you think that as this team currently stands, they're going to go 7-10. That's what jumped out to me, that unless they make some sort of massive swing for a player like Hendrickson or Watt, which I think are pipe dreams, we'll see. I mean, the Bengals don't seem like a team to me to trade away good talent. They seem to be a team that holds on to the talent they have as cheaply as possible before eventually losing them for nothing. So that's how I feel that this Hendrickson thing is going to go. We'll see. I'm not sure. I think TJ Watt remains a Steeler. I would be shocked if something happens there. But who knows? It's sports radio. We can kick it around. Tim, I'm fascinated that you think this is a 7-10 team as the roster sits currently. I don't think it's ridiculous at all. I think you look at the beginning part of the schedule, that week 1 game that we've been discussing, the Lions on the 7th of September. That's going to be a massive, massive game. I think the biggest week 1 game in recent memory. The Commanders on Thursday night, then if you're able to come out of that pair of games 2-0 or 1-1 at the very worst, well, then we could talk about having a season, because you should have winnable games against the Browns, albeit on the road, the Cowboys on the road on Sunday Night Football, but who cares? There's no intimidation factor in that building at all, especially for this team. You host the Bengals, and then you go to Arizona. Can you get through those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games? Can you get through that 5-2? Maybe you take a loss to either the Commanders or the Lions, and then maybe you lose at Arizona, or maybe you lose at home to the Bengals. If you come through those first 7 games 5-2, I think you're in a pretty good spot. Or those are actually, that's only 6 games. So we'd 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can go 4-2 in those first 6 games, then you go to the Steelers that next Sunday night, right? This is a season without a lot of gimmies. The Browns on the road, I'd like to think that that's a gimme. I'd like to think you could bank a win there. But that defense is for real. They're well coached. It's on the road in an uncommon opponent in an uncommon stadium. Like, I don't think that can be taken for granted. And I, more than most, am a Kyler Murray supporter. I like him. I wouldn't want him to be my quarterback, but I think he's pretty sick. The dude can sling the pill, and when he's on, there are few people in the NFL that are more fun to watch. The Cowboys, I don't know. I think Dak is underrated as a regular season quarterback, but that's about the only case that I'd be able to make. I think that's a game that the Packers should win. But can you get through these first 6 games? Can you get through the Arizona Cardinals right before that matchup with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh? Can you get through that 4-2 or better? Well, then we're en route to talking about an actual season. But Tim in Arizona said, well, I think this is a 7-10 team. That's my prediction. I don't know about 7-10, but 9 wins. Like, I think that's totally on the board. And going 9-8 with this schedule. I mean, if you look farther forward, you host the Eagles, you host the Vikings, you go to the Lions, 2 against the Bears, at Denver, which will be far from an easy game. Their final, listen to this. Their final 6-7 games goes like this. Home to Minnesota, at Detroit, home to Chicago, at Denver, at Chicago, home to Ravens, at US Bank. If you don't bank wins early against the Lions and the Commanders at home, at the Browns, at the Cowboys, at the Cardinals, home against the Bengals, if you don't bank some wins early, it's going to be really hard to make them up later in the year. And I don't know what kind of season the Bears are going to have win-loss-wise. I don't know what kind of season the Vikings, I just don't know what to expect with J.J. McCarthy, but I love that coaching staff and I love that roster. And that's a nasty home field advantage to boot. Like, if you don't bank wins early, it's going to be really hard to make them up in November and in September because the schedule is just one tank after another. Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago. Chicago has to be some level of competent this year. I know they're the Bears, but Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen and the improved O-line and the added talent, they got their tight end. We'll see. I feel like everyone's assuming Luther Burden is going to be a stud. And maybe he will be. I also wouldn't be shocked if he's just a hothead and it never works. But that's the risk you take with a player of that talent, especially in the second round. So I'm not begrudging the Bears for that pick, but I don't know that pick is a lock that many people are kind of assuming and making it out to be. Well, you know, Ryan Poles, who just got extended. Ryan Poles, I mean, look at this pick. He just got Luther Burden in round 2. Well, there's a reason he fell. I'm not saying it's not a good bet to make. I'm just, let's not write that down in pen that that's going to be some major addition. I don't know. I assumed the Bears would be competent and good last year. I assumed incorrectly. I feel like this is the year they have to be at least somewhat decent. So that back half of the schedule going home to Vikings, at Detroit, home to Bears, at Broncos, at Bears, home to Ravens, at Vikings. Like, my God. And there's a chance the Packers could have a great season and go 500 in that stretch. But that's why it's important to bank wins at home against the Lions and Commanders, at Cleveland, at Dallas, at Arizona. Like, that's a stretch of the season you have to bank wins because it's really going to be hard to make them up later in the second half of the season, late in the second half of November, and then into December and early January as well, with all those division games, all of which are really good teams. And then also here are the Ravens. Good luck. You get them at home, but good luck. 608-321-1670. You want to talk Packers? We could do that. A couple more minutes on the other side of this break. We're going to wrap up the show with the latest that Ken Rosenthal is hearing because he has prophesied before about Josh Hader and others. But I will never ignore a Ken Rosenthal report after the Josh Hader thing ever again. So we'll get to that before the end of the show as well.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show, starting to wrap things up. I want to spend the last 10 minutes or so picking through the latest from Ken Rosenthal as we approach the trade deadline here. I used to pass off Ken Rosenthal little nuggets and little reports. I used to pass those things off as nothing. Well, not as nothing. It's Ken Rosenthal. But, you know, for years he would write, Josh Hader, maybe he could be available. And I'm like, they're not that stupid. You think David Stearns would just do that in the middle of the year? And then they did. So I will not be skeptical of Ken Rosenthal any longer. I don't think there's any Hader. I don't think there's any Hader juice in here. I don't think there is. There might be. I haven't read the whole thing yet. I assume there's not. He's actually been pretty good this year. So we'll get to the latest. A couple more minutes on the Packers in the meantime. And your texts and calls are welcome. 608-321-1670. This is from Ryan in Manitowoc. Says, the main concern for the Packers would be if they lose to the Lions and the Commanders and go 0-2. To me, it always seems like all teams are not great on week 1. And it takes maybe until week 3 to really see what a team is. I'm looking for the Packers to fire out of the gates right away with play action, running game, etc. And if not, I'm going to be concerned. It does take a couple weeks for most teams, and you hear this a lot in recent years where it's like, well, nobody plays the preseason anymore. So the first couple weeks are actually, the preseason. No, they're not, because those games count. And especially in the case of the Packers schedule, like, you have to beat Detroit. You have to. Well, Grant, it's a regular season game. No regular season game is a must win. Look, I'm telling you that it is, because I know what's going to happen if they lose that game. I am 100% confident that I know exactly what's going to happen if they lose that game. We're going to come in on Monday, and Bill's going to fire up the music, and he's going to say, all right, how are we looking? And he's going to get the show going. And what's going to happen is we're going to take calls and comments and emails and all in texts, and everybody's saying nothing has changed from last year. Not a thing. Still can't beat Dan Campbell. Still can't beat elite teams. Can't get his team focused and ready when they absolutely need to, right? That's going to be the take. And that's exactly where we left off last season. And I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. I don't want to start this season thinking, oh, okay, so nothing's changed. I don't want to end up in that spot. I know exactly how that Monday show is going to go. Bill's going to come in here. They're going to lose to the Lions. The show's going to start. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is how the show would start. The show would start, and then we're going to get all these calls and texts about nothing's changed. Dan Campbell still owns Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur's not a true leader of men, et cetera, all those things. So, yes, while a lot of folks talk about the first couple of weeks in an NFL schedule as an extension of the preseason, the Packers don't have that luxury, because they're not going to be able, unless they're the best team in football, they're not going to be able to make up those wins later on when the schedule goes Eagles at Giants, Vikings at Lions, Bears at Broncos, at Bears, Ravens, at Vikings. Like, if you can go 500 or slightly above 500 in that stretch, you'll be doing great. The banked wins need to come earlier. This is a team that needs to come out of the chute ready to go against the Lions and the Commanders. A couple of texts here. This one says, are we still talking about the Badgers cornerback? # garbage radio. Well, here's the news of the day. If the Brewers all of a sudden start playing a game this afternoon, I suppose we could talk about that. He also says, time to move on. The game was 6 months ago. Look to the future, not past. Boring radio. Well, we're doing a little bit of that too. We're talking about that. Thank you for the suggestions, though. For those who don't know, and those who maybe woke up this morning for the first time, this is the All-Star break where there is no games. It's actually pretty well known as the quietest stretch in sports history. So, or in the sports calendar. So if we're going to get a news story that not only affects the Badgers roster for this upcoming season, but also kind of makes their coach look bad and a little overconfident and cocky. I'm going to dig in for that. I'm going to get into that. That's going to be a topic that we talked about. And both of those guests, by the way, Jesse's here every week anyways. And Colton's excellent. I love an excuse and a reason to have Colton on. So the Nyzier Fourqurean thing has definitely been a big story. If that's not up your alley, sorry. It's not like there's an NFL game tonight or a Major League Baseball game tonight to talk about. And we can talk about latest with Ken Rosenthal. We're going to wrap up with that. But I think we're doing an okay job getting ready for training camp and talking about the Packers' upcoming schedule. 608-321-1670. The beginning stretch and the middle stretch. There's just a couple of games on the schedule that I just absolutely don't think they can afford to lose. Am I to the point now where I almost believe they need to beat the Bengals at home? Like, it's a win that they have to bank. Like a game against Joe Burrow is a must win. You got to beat the Panthers at home. You probably got to beat the Giants in New York. And I think, again, that week 1 game, I'm circling it. I mean, their week 2 game, quote unquote, it's only a couple days later. But the Commanders on that Thursday night, I think those are both must-win games because the schedule is so much more difficult on the back half. And you have the luxury of getting the Lions in their first game with 2 new coordinators and some new players on that offensive line. And then you get the Commanders on a short week, right, at home. You don't have to travel. Those are just some opportunities that you really can't afford. And then if we want to extend it, like, let's look at the Browns week 3. Give me a reason why you should win that game. You have a mini bye. You have 10 days off. You're going to have the rest advantage against Cleveland. And I don't know who Cleveland plays in week 2, but let's see who Cleveland's coming off. I'd be curious to see. They will be at the Ravens. So Cleveland's going to have 3 fewer days rest coming off of a road game against Baltimore. And I don't know how that game's going to go, but I could assume that, Baltimore will be favored. So there's just a lot of reasons. You circle a couple games on these schedules. It's like, look, I don't know what the record's going to finish, but if this season's going to end in a playoff berth, you have to win a couple of these. And I think Lions, Commanders, Browns, Bengals at home, probably. Panthers at home, probably. Bears at home, probably, even though I think the Bears will be better this year. 608-321-1670. Let's take a call. It's the Bill Michaels Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. It's Coyote Mike.
Hey, Coyote Mike. What's going on?
Oh, just hanging out, kind of tuning in and listening a little bit. And we had a big, huge rainstorm last night. Probably got 1 or 2 inches of rain.
Out in Colorado. We got a rainstorm here yesterday. I don't understand. It just storms like every day now, and it seems everywhere, all over the country.
Yeah, it's been kind of a relatively cool summer, and we were just talking about it the other day. We've been getting a lot more storms than we have in recent years. So
Big Ron's neighborhood out in Jersey almost flooded straight up. It did flood.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm just listening to you talk about Matt LaFleur.
Mm-hmm.
And, last year I would call in and I'd have some issues and questions about him. And now I'm kind of listening to you talk and other people talk and me and my thoughts. So as fans, we're kind of questioning him and where he's going to be able to take this team. If he can get them up to the next level, how do you think the players pick up on that too? I mean, they have to, right?
On Matt LaFleur specifically?
Yeah. Do you think they're looking at Matt LaFleur and go, maybe they're talking amongst each other, Coach really kind of blew that timeout call against the Bears.
Yeah. And there were there have been a couple examples. That Bears game sticks in my head and I keep bringing it up because I can't get it out of my head. I know it was a meaningless regular season game, but that's just not a mistake I can really ever accept my coach making. That seemed like a freebie.
Yeah. And in some regards, he's in a prove it or lose it season, right?
For Love?
Based on what? No, for
LaFleur. Yeah, I mean they're not getting extended, and next year's the last year on their contract. So
and the players got to kind of pick up on that.
I think so.
Well,
that's why they don't let coaches go into the lame duck year because players pick up on that. It's like, are you even going to be here next year? Yeah, that's typically why organizations do it that way.
Exactly, and so that's why you're talking about these first 3 games out of the chute. They got to knock it out of the park. Either if they don't necessarily win, but they got to put together some good football. Yeah. Otherwise, boy, I think that the heat on his seat's going to get a little warmer, a little quicker than he.
Well, I think so, and this is my point. Like, if we start this season and it feels like an extension of last season, I think the criticism of Matt LaFleur is going to get very, very loud. Not to the point where he loses his job, but I think it become a thing.
Yeah, I hear you there. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So
yeah, I hope. And yeah, appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for the call. It's Coyote Mike. Listens out in Colorado. I need Matt LaFleur to become more of the coach he was earlier in his career. I thought he regressed. I've talked about this endlessly, but I thought Matt LaFleur regressed as a coach last year. Play calling, decision-making, fourth down, going for it, those types of things, special teams management, timeout management, those types of things. I know he's capable of doing those things well. I know. I've seen it. Last year, I think, was a bad year. Good coaches are allowed to have bad years. Good general managers, good at you can be good at your job and have a bad quarter or a bad season. This season cannot be a continuation of last season. It just can't be for Matt LaFleur because he didn't show me enough. I think he's an excellent coach. And look, I think he did very good when Malik Willis was the starter last year, which is great. I don't want my coach to be defined by what he can do with the lesser players on the roster. I define my coach by how he can succeed and how he can elevate the best players. That's more what I'm worried about. The fact that he could scheme it up with Malik Willis is very nice. That was very good. And I think it's a testament to him as a coach. I think he's good. But the highest level coaches is how can Mahomes be elevated by Reed? How can Nick Sirianni and his staff coach up and lead the charge with Jalen Hurts and that O-line in that running game? How do you elevate the best players on your team, the ones that cost the most, the ones that require the most investment from the front office? How do you do with those players? And it just didn't look all that great last year. It was fine. It wasn't bad. But again, I'm still hung up on some of the decision-making, the fourth down, the timeout stuff. I think he's a good coach. I think he's smart, sharp, forward-thinking coach. I think he regressed last year. Let's take our final break of the show. When we come back, I want to get the latest from Ken Rosenthal and what he's hearing around the league, especially as it pertains to buy-sell candidates at the deadline and how that could impact the Brewers or rivals of the Brewers, like perhaps the Cubs in the division, separated only by a game this week. All right, we'll wrap up the Bill Michaels Show with that coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Truck drivers, it's time to take your skills to a company that invests in your safety and comfort. Schneider's newer and well-maintained equipment keeps drivers moving and making money. Our trucks are spec'd with the latest safety and comfort features that drivers want. Plus, we offer a huge selection of driving jobs so you can find a job with the home time and schedule you've been looking for. Upgrade to a better driving job today. Search jobs near you and apply now at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The Milwaukee Brewers' third best record in the National League, behind only the Dodgers and the Cubs. And what's amazing about the Brewers, when you look at their journey from the offseason to now, in the offseason, until March, they didn't sign a free agent for more than $1 million. They finally signed Quintana under pressure for $4.25 million at some point in March, and that certainly helped them. He's been a fine addition for the Brewers. So they don't have much of an offseason after losing Willy Adames to free agency, after trading Devin Williams, and yet here they are again. Then they start the season, the Torpedo Bat Series in New York. Remember, oh my goodness, Freddie Peralta said yesterday, Sunday, that he was a little bit worried after that series and after what happened at the hands of the New York Yankees with their torpedo bats, which we haven't heard a word about for a couple of months now. The Brewers climb back out of that, and here they are, as they are here every single year, it seems. No matter what you do to them, no matter who they lose, they rally.
Ken Rosenthal, The Athletic, Fox Sports, on the Brewers rallying this season. And it's funny because Ken Rosenthal and Bob Nightingale and others were in Brewers spring training writing the story of, okay, so they've been winning. Now they trade Williams, lose Adames. They don't sign anyone at this moment in time. They hadn't signed Quintana yet. They can't keep getting away with this, right? And I don't even think like Rosenthal has egg on his face at all. I'm just pointing out how it's funny that like now a couple months later, they're right there with the best of the National League. And again, they have rallied.
No matter who they lose,
correct.
They rally.
They rally. His latest column today, what he's hearing around the league. It's funny to me. Item number one is that the Dodgers are going to pursue bullpen help. And the lead is, after investing a combined $107 million in free agent relievers, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan, and Kirby Yates, the Dodgers are expected to pursue bullpen help, according to sources briefed on the team's plans. So it's like, yeah, I know they've spent literally over $100 million on bullpen alone. Yes, they're going to continue to pursue because of the Dodgers, and they can. The arrow pointing up for Orioles Morton and Trevor Rogers. Charlie Morton and left-handed reliever Rogers are examples how of quickly a player's trajectory and trade value might change. Morton, 41, was the symbol of the Orioles' early season collapse, posting an ERA over 10 in his first 5 starts, but that's improved. One of many Orioles on an expiring contract, Morton suddenly looks like an attractive chip. During Fox's All-Star preview on Monday, I mentioned him as a possibility for the Boston Red Sox. Should be interesting. Yes, the Red Sox would love to do better, and perhaps they will. Maybe the Cubs could be in on this as well. They need pitching. But the starting pitching market is thin, and Sox manager Alex Cora is familiar with Morton from the 2017 Astros. With Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito both on a roll, perhaps the Sox would be okay with someone like Morton rather than a pure and possibly unattainable number 2 starter, maybe like what's his nuts from Minnesota, whose name I can't remember. This is an interesting tidbit. Tampa Bay in wait-and-see mode. They're not quite sure what they're going to do. And I almost wish we had Austin Harper in studio to talk about this. A wild and crazy idea, Tucker in Tampa Bay. Now, the future of Kyle Tucker and whether or not that future includes Chicago is interesting to me, because if the Cubs are feeling that they're not going to re-sign him, it would make sense for the Cubs to go hot and heavy and all in on this season. So how they feel about their odds, good or bad, of retaining Tucker after this year, probably going to get $500 million. Like he's going to get a mountain of money. If they feel like they're going to retain him, maybe this year they take it a little bit lower and slower. But if not, this year they might push some more chips into the middle of the table. So here's what Rosenthal wrote. Speaking of the Rays, here's an intriguing thought if Jacksonville developer Patrick Zapolsky is confirmed as the team's new owner in time for the offseason. Kyle Tucker. The thought might not be as preposterous as it sounds, depending on how much Zapolsky is willing to spend on players after plunking $1.7 billion or so for the team. Tucker, 28, is a native of Tampa. The Rays are a good bet to escape the final 8 years of Wander Franco's 11-year, $180 million contract if Franco is unable to leave the Dominican Republic after being found in the allegations. And even under Stuart Sternberg, their owner, they've occasionally tried to go big in free agency, most notably during the 22 offseason when they offered Freddie Freeman 6- and 7-year deals in the $140, $150 million range. As a free agent, Kyle Tucker commands at least 3 times that much, maybe more. The range might be out of Zapolsky's comfort zone, but what better way for a new owner to announce his intentions than by signing the best free agent available? I am interested. I was confused as to why it's like, oh, so the Rays, Kyle Tucker, when previously be kind of shot their wads, so to speak, with free agency, although I never count them out because they're the Dodgers, and I know better. But the Mets or the Yankees, those teams, the Yankees have kind of been on the outside looking in. The Dodgers have gotten their guys. The Mets got Juan Soto this offseason. The Yankees are kind of the team that's been left at the altar. And with Stanton aging and like they could probably, like, it would make sense for the Yankees. But the Rays, with some of that reasoning, it might be silly, and it probably is. It's probably far-fetched, but it's at least an interesting idea. Like, if a new owner wants to come in and set his package on the table, it's fascinating. Kyle Tucker playing in that building, although I guess maybe they're getting a new building. I haven't been staying up to date with exactly what their plans and intentions are when the Trop was, ripped to pieces by that hurricane 2 off seasons ago or this last winter. I don't know. The idea of Kyle Tucker playing for that team, which kind of feels like small potatoes, even though they are typically very good and they're very smart and well run in that building, seems a little odd when his other options are the Chicago Cubs, who are a massive brand, iconic stadium, the Yankees, massive brand, iconic stadium. But then again, if the Rays offer him the most money, maybe he takes it. I don't think he's going to take a massive discount to go anywhere. It's just kind of odd when we're talking about the biggest free agent in the pond this offseason going to Tampa. But if he's got Tampa ties, new owner, there are some reasons to at least kick it around as interesting. And I think the future of Kyle Tucker is very pertinent to us as Brewers fans, because if the Cubs don't feel confident about their odds of retaining him after this year, extending or signing him to a new deal, they'll probably be a lot more willing to be aggressive at this deadline for pieces the Brewers could also be interested in. Like, the Brewers should and are, I guess, probably having conversations, or at least, kicking around the idea of a guy like Eugenio Suarez. The Cubs, much of the same. Now, the Cubs need pitching and the Brewers don't. So there's a little, they're operating in 2 marketplaces. But for a third baseman or a bat, Cubs could absolutely be a part of that. And their future with Kyle Tucker directly is tied to probably their aggressiveness level at this deadline, which is tied to the Brewers. So 6 degrees of separation. But I think it does matter the Brewers' chances and their activity over the next couple of weeks. Tomorrow, we'll wrap up the week. I appreciate you putting up with me instead of Bill. Very slow sports week. If you're interested, you're like, yeah, I like this. I like the cut of this guy's gym. Well, I'm on at 4 to 6. A lot of these same affiliates. Follow me on Twitter at stream the show. Listen, and you don't have to. Until we talk again, 20 hours.